Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the DTM Esports Shootout Day number 2. The last chance for our drivers to qualify for the DTM Esports 2022 grid and win that chance to potentially become a driver in a DTM trophy in 2023. My name's Luke Crane. I am joined by Connery and Maddock. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing absolutely fine. I'm just thinking back and reminiscing about Shootout number 1 that was just 2 short weeks ago and how much fun we had then at the Nürburgring. But this time, we head to a different track, still in Germany, but Hockenheim.
Well, before we do indeed talk about day number 2, as you've rightly pointed out, we did have day number 1. What stuck out for you there, Connery? It was just full of incredible action from start to finish, but was there anything that particularly stood out?
I think the ferociousness of the mid-pack probably is the highlight from last time out. You know how hungry that these drivers are to try and get themselves inside of that top 6 that will qualify from each heat. And of course, they do have that heat at the end, the sort of last chance qualifier to be concerned about as well. But everyone wants to get through in the first time of asking, and that's the main thing here today. And for some drivers, this is technically the second time since they are rejoining us from Shootout number 1. More on that later.
Yeah, a couple of these drivers may have already qualified, but then have to re-qualify again. But again, we will talk about that very, very shortly. And for anyone who wasn't watching qualifying or shootout day number 1, here's some highlights for you to get caught up to speed. And then, as we do go green light racing, Moritz Lerner does start in P8, and a couple of drivers there not quite getting off the line. Lots of smoke, though, being chucked up in the air is Marko Pejic, who has made a move for the lead, has the inside line in that AMG, and you can see that Fiducci then's going to be hung out to dry there in that multicolored Audi. And I tell you what, they are side by side here, and it's a brilliant bit of work there actually from Fiducci. He's kept the overlap there. It's brilliant stuff there from Fiducci.
Well, this is the battle for that crucial, or rather getting towards that crucial top 5 point, but just look at how they're fighting wheel to wheel for it, though. Moritz Lerner and Alexander Dornaden going side by side. Dornaden got the back end out a little bit. Of course, cold tyres.
Lerner's made a lovely move up the inside here, then from P6, and he's got past Pfeiffer up into P5 then again. That is the bubble position, isn't it? P6, you don't really want to be there.
It's all about making a statement sometimes, and here comes your race leader then on the final lap through the final corner here, Luke. Fiducci does it.
Oh, he does. As we come then across the line, Fiducci is the driver to beat. It's race number 2 of qualifying day number 1. Top 5 will get through to our Esports Championship, and then it's 6th to 19th that will make it through to our final race today and the last chance qualifier, and it's the long run down towards turn number 1. We are green light racing, and actually very similarly to what we saw in race number 1. Looks like the leader hasn't got the best of starts, but the second phase by Siggy was absolutely incredible. But look at this lunge up the inside then. Yashul and Siggy have a bit of contact there. Yashul's going to hold on to it there. And it will indeed impede him on the exit. And Isaac Price has got a great run here on the Scandinavian. And he's up the inside of the Swede. And Isaac Price then, we know, if he finds himself in an opportunity, he is absolutely opening that door for sure. I think Price has got to go early here to try and move down that inside. Not going to get an opportunity. Pliska just slowly moves over, and now he is going to be very slow on this exit. But look at Hogveld here. Hogveld is going to try and take advantage of any potential contact. Pliska has to leave that room on the outside. Tim Yarshall, though, again, has set his stall. He has posted a statement here, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Yarshall wants to get the dub. He wants to get the job done. And we are green light racing, ladies and gentlemen, the last chance qualifier. And I tell you what, I think again here, P2 has got a phenomenal start. Pejic, though, going across to defend that position as soon as they possibly can, and will indeed end up having that inside line. Keithley not going to be able to find, oh, he is going to be able to find a little bit of a gap here. Runs out wide, has to leave the room for Pejic to come back on the circuit here. But yeah, he is still ahead there. Dornaden not able to make that move. Oh, Hogveld goes for it then. The drive up the inside here. Opportunity did indeed knock. He opens the door. Dornaden then closes that door. I wouldn't say close, he slams that door. And actually, for the first time, oh, there's contact there between Luciano Whitver, the ballast. Oh, there's a spin there as well for the Audi. Oh, that is not good. It's Jan Stanger, who is now off into the grass here. Again, booking his ticket through. Comes up towards that final chicane, grabs a bit of curb on entry. It's a poor exit here. Dornaden has closed up here. He has to force the Italian defensively. Dornaden takes the wide entrance through the corner. And what about your exit here? Are you going to finally get this done as a drag race? Ottaviani's done enough. Alessandro Ottaviani, the surprise of the day for me, has booked his ticket through to our final grid. Congratulations to him. heats there, which was absolutely outstanding. But two things stuck out for me. Ottaviani, who actually had a really good Le Mans Esport this weekend as well. He came out of absolutely nowhere for me personally. And Moritz Lerner, it wasn't as easy as we probably would expect from a DTM Esports champion, our current reigning champion, who is racing in the DTM trophy right now. He qualified pretty poorly, had to make a couple of overtakes to get into those spots ready for our championship, but it just was not plain sailing.
Yeah, it just wasn't. But, you know, there are other chances to try and get yourself through. This is basically the last chance for drivers in a similar situation to try and get themselves through. But, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to today. If it's anything like a couple of weeks ago, then I think we're in for a good ride.
Absolutely. Well, it wasn't just Shootout Day number 1. We actually just had a wildcard event this weekend gone, where 3 drivers have already qualified for our finals as well. So we've got Julien Fox, Mosin and Bodin, Alex Mosin and Florian Bodin. They are your 3 drivers that will indeed make it through and join the already qualified 14. So for me, that makes 17 drivers. We're going to get 14 more today. That means we're going to have a 31 driver grid here, Connery. That is exceptional news for us as commentators. But yeah, for people watching at home, it's going to be an incredible championship.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. You know, it's great to see these guys able to qualify themselves through another route into this championship, and we would love to see Fox, Mosin and Boding join us for the main season of this one. But yeah, it's great to see. Of course, you know, hopefully we'll be able to get back to live events in the not too distant future, because it's a lot more fun doing this in person compared to doing it online. I certainly absolutely love that in-person atmosphere, but for now this season's still online for the moment. But of course, you know, who knows in the future of DTM Esports.
Well, that's Shootout Day 1 covered. That is indeed Wildcard covered. Let's take a look then at some of our protagonists that will be racing today in race number 1. So remember, we are going to have 28 drivers in each race, and only 5 of them can qualify through automatically. 2 talking points here. Marco Pajic, Isaac Price, they already qualified last time out, or so you would have thought. They actually both got disqualified for not turning up to the driver's briefing beforehand. It's very important to show up to the driver's briefing. It shows respect to all the rest of your fellow drivers and knowing exactly what is going down. So yeah, they both were indeed disqualified, but they both requalified today. So instantly they become favourites for me. You got Luciano Whitford, who's back once again. Bo Dixon, the chat are loving Bo today. And that is it for drivers that indeed Markovic as well. So 5 out of those 10 drivers that are at the top 10 already have participated, but we've got some new names as well, Connery, which should really shake things up.
Yeah, especially if you turn down the order, you've got David Bodska down there, the Belgian, looking to try and get himself stuck into this event. Remember, this is only the top 10 from the leaderboard. We actually have 25 drivers connected to the server at the moment, so these aren't the only drivers. These are just the top drivers that will be joining us here for heat number 1. I'm super excited to get it underway. Of course, lots of German representation in this race, as ever, in anything DTM Esports and anything RaceRoom, to be completely honest. But we're just about ready to get ourselves into qualifying.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at what the format will be today then, and indeed our schedule. So we have got ourselves 2 races today. Qualifying for heat number 1 is right upon us pretty much. Then we've got race number 1, which is going to be a 30-minute timed race. Top 5 from that will automatically qualify. They are golden. They've booked their golden ticket to the DTM Esports 2022 finals, which will be 6 rounds in total. Exciting stuff. But if you finish 6th down to 20th position, you will then go to the last chance shootout, which will be the final race. So then we have race number 2, which is, again, 28 drivers supposedly, but as Connery said, 25 have indeed checked in today. Top 5 will automatically qualify, and then it is down 6th, down to 20th position. So we will indeed have a 32 car grid potentially battling out for 4 positions. So the final race will be qualifying at 2100 hours in Europe, and then we will indeed have the race at around about 1/4 the hour. Again, top 4 from that race will also advance. So that makes 14 drivers that will indeed make it through to the next phase of the competition. And, well, again, super exciting for all of them. And just to talk about the prizes here, all of these drivers are battling it out to finish in the top 5 overall in the championship. So once we've got today out of the way, we've got a grid of 31 drivers. And then we will have 2 races every other week for 6 rounds, 12 weeks in total, but 6 rounds in total, 12 races. in total. And the top 5 drivers will win themselves a sighting day during the 2022 DTM season, where they will be evaluated, and the best candidate will indeed win themselves a fully financed package in the DTM Trophy 2023. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see them racing for real. What a prize that is, Connery.
It's an absolutely incredible prize, and when you think about a lot of the drivers that get into sim racing, there's one of 2 things they want to be. Ideally, in some situations, both. But one of them is to be a professional esports driver, to do this for a living. You know, basically, for all intents and purposes, play racing games. The other group of people, they want to use this to try and become a real-life racing driver, to get themselves inside one of these cars potentially at some point, but at least for one of them, at the end of this, they'll get themselves behind the wheel of a DTM trophy car, which it would be an absolutely incredible experience. You know, especially if they've done little to no real-life racing.
Absolutely. Again, you know, that's the scope or the world we're in right now. There are people out there that ultimately want to use this as a gateway into the real world of motorsport, as Connery very rightly pointed out. Sim racing almost as equal as karting, I would say, these days. But there are some drivers out there that just want to be the very best in terms of sim racing as well. And the beauty of this competition is you've got both of those opportunities. Right, chat, let me know who you're supporting. It looks like we've got a load of Bo Dixon fans in the chat, but who else are we supporting today then, as Bo actually did go momentarily pole position, but now down to 7th position. But look how close the times are here, as Dinya has gone provisional P1 with a 1:38.019. Incredible stuff there from the Audi driver. Lots of Audis today. Once we get into the official championship though, Connery, they get one choice of car, and that's what they have to stick with for the rest of the season. So this is really the last chance for them to choose whatever car is best for the race circuit.
Yeah, you don't blame the drivers when they make the decision to try and just go for the best car for the circuit, because they're allowed to do so. But like you absolutely, you're very correct in mentioning that the drivers, they don't get such a luxury in this in the main season. They have to try and work out, okay, what's a compromise going to be between all the circuits on the calendar for that main season. And remember, there might be balance performance tweaks from race to race as well that might affect how good a certain car performs compared to the others on the same track. So it's there's certainly a little bit of element of luck there, but I think the only thing that you really have control over is your personal preference, and you should probably just go with that.
Yeah, exactly that. Go with whatever you're comfortable with. Again, this is your last opportunity. Effectively, if you don't get through the top 5 in race 1 or 2, and then the top 4 in race number 3, you will be watching this from home. You know, a 31 driver grid may seem like a huge opportunity, but the plethora of talent we have, with the incredible prize coupled in with that, it's such a high level of performance at the sharp end. So to be in the top 5 is going to be super, super difficult. But ultimately, you want to try and get it done as early as possible. You do not want to put yourself in the position of being in that last chance qualifier race where, as we saw from the qualify or shootout day number 1, kind of anything goes in that race. It's a little bit more scrappy, isn't it? As Markovic has just taken provisional pole, who was looking very quick last time out, didn't actually manage to qualify, unfortunately, was one of the drivers just outside the top 4 in the final qualifying race. And well, right now is the start of the show.
Yeah, behind now across the line, P8 for him at the moment. Driver in provisional pole position, however, with just over 4 minutes left to go. That is Matija Markovic, so the driver from Montenegro. You don't get many drivers from Montenegro, but that's where Markovic is from in that Audi, doing very, very well here today in qualifying. A tenth of a second ahead of Velita Dinya. You've got Marko Pejic, who's in 3rd place. We had an interesting story with Marko Pejic, of course, on that previous shootout, of course, having issues in the first heats of things and having to try and claw his way back to the last chance qualifier. However, that didn't really mean anything, because he ends up being disqualified anyway due to not turning up to the driver's briefing.
Yeah, he was in the race-winning position, wasn't he, in race number 1 of the day in the shootouts, but ultimately he span out from that position and he ended up outside the top 5. Again, it wouldn't have mattered regardless. He managed to qualify through the last chance qualifier races. We've got a McLaren there spinning into the barrier, but again, it still doesn't matter because Pejic is here. He has to go through today because of not turning up to the driver's briefing. As you can see, we're on board with the number 37, which is indeed, well, Markovic. We've got 2 number 37s in the front now, which is going to be really, really interesting for us to indeed commentate on. Markovic and Dinya then are your top 2. Pejic is in 3rd position. Whitford then is in 4th, the Dutchie. Expecting really big things from Whitford as well. as we've got Isaac Price then, who's gone for the BMW once again, and he is in what is now P3. So yeah, he is in the Timo Glock BMW this week as well. So he's in the top 3. Remember, top 5 automatically get themselves through. But Hockenheim, Connery, plenty of opportunities to overtake, especially down in towards that hairpin. Actually, we're going to watch here Royce Rocco indeed take the long run down towards that hairpin, so you can describe exactly what it needs to do to get an overtake done through there.
Yeah, it's all about that good run out of the first sector, though, through turn 3 and 4. If you're not able to lock the car down there in terms of the traction coming through that section, then it's going to make your life a little bit more difficult coming down this straight, but you can just sit in the slipstream all the way down here, all the way down into that very heavy braking zone of that hairpin. Of course, some drivers prefer to sling it down the inside at that point, but however, on exit of the corner, we tend to see the driver on the outside get the better run down this yet another straight through the right-hand kink. So inside might not be the best option in the hairpin. You might want to commit to the outside, and then here's another overtaking point as well down at turn number 8. You can sling it down the inside there and make things happen.
Yeah, you're right, and if you do indeed get the move done around the outside, ultimately you've got just that kink to deal with. You still have that overlap, the corner you've just rightly pointed out. You then have the inside line through the start of the stadium section of the circuit, which is a huge pinch point. So if you can be on the inside there, ultimately it's the best place to be. But you've got to set it up 3-4 corners in advance if you want to be in that position. So it's a technical circuit, especially to make an overtake, but more than likely you're going to see, especially on lap number 1, 3, potentially 4, maybe even 5 wide down in towards that hairpin. So expect there to be some fireworks early on today.
So Royce Rocco heads his way across the line now. Does get himself a lap time on the boards. It does mean that everyone set themselves a lap time here, which is not that normal when it comes to qualifying sessions here on RaceRoom. So it's good to see everyone putting in the effort there. Marko Pejic, though, going to the top of the order. Looking to try and right some wrongs today, I get the feeling here, Luke. He probably should have been able to qualify through that first shootout, but of course a logistical error on his part means that he's here today competing in that Porsche.
Yeah, 100%. Jonas Vanna, by the way, who is the first seed in this, has just gone up to P2. So, yeah, you're expecting to see Pejic, Vanna because of the pace they've showed in the qualifying. Markovic, Dinya, then we've got Mihail Neg as well from Romania as your top 5. And then you've got someone like Isaac Price, who finds himself outside of that top 5, which is ridiculous to me. But I think really what tells this lobby apart from everything else is that someone like Bo Dixon is in P12. Like this guy, I watch him week in, week out. He is ridiculously quick, and he finds himself outside the top 10. This is a lobby worthy. Frank Van Roon, 23rd, like a ridiculous grid here. But this is genuinely a session that's worthy of a final. It is that close. And obviously people who missed out last time, Connery, they would obviously may have watched their friends or they've been told about their friends. Like, you need to get in here. You've got one more chance to qualify. And they've all come in their droves.
Yeah, it's, like I said to you before the start of the broadcast here, look, this is a very, very stacked field. Both the first shootout was stacked, this one's stacked as well. There's a lot of talent out there here today. Of course, we'll touch on some of the same topics that we touched on, of course, in the first shootouts where, for example, if you're in the race lead, you don't necessarily want to try and fight or defend from second place because it's the top 5 spots are going to be the ones that are safe. However, if you are on that bubble, so to speak, if you are 5th, if you are 6th, that is where the pressure cooker is in this race. Let me tell you that, because you have to have your wits about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is the unique factor of this is P1 and P5 are worth exactly the same. So if you're in P5 and you're comfortably there, but you're right behind P4, it's not worth trying to make a move unless you're being pressured from behind. So that's the real unique factor here. But also there's going to be a battle to be in that top 20. So you're going to be looking at 25th, 24th, 3rd, 2nd and 1st are all going to be looking to try and get into that top 20 just to get themselves involved, because you do not know what's going to happen in any race, Connery. There could be a massive pile-up somewhere, and you may find yourself in that front 4 in the last chance qualifier. But that could also happen in race number 1 here as well. So plenty of factors here, plenty of opportunities for these drivers to indeed advance through to our grand finals, and I am super, super pumped for this.
Absolutely. We have, like I said, anyone could realistically finish top 5 in this race given the right set of circumstances. I don't think you can really count many people out in this situation. Of course, the drivers that start towards the back, or rather drivers that have had to start towards the back on the grid here, obviously going to have a little bit of a tougher time. However, with the qualifying being as close as it was, you never quite know. It might be a big smash ahead of you. All of a sudden, you've gained about 10 spots, and all of a sudden, that top 5 looks just that little bit more likely. You just never know in this situation, especially with the likes of the drivers that we've got in the front couple of spots right now. We can't necessarily rely on Payich having a good race from the front, and we've also got Price looking to try and get himself involved in that top 5 as well. Of course, he starts outside the top 5 in this situation, so he wants to get it done first time. I'm asking. He is the only BMW in this field, by the way, which is an interesting thing to note. But yeah, I mean, a minute and a half to go at this point until we start the gridding procedure. I kind of want it to be now.
Yeah, for sure. Only 1.5 minutes to wait, Connery. Don't get too excited. It'll be here before you know it, and then we've got 3 races to go through. So let's not get, let's not get all of the excitement out right now. Chat, we're looking at you right now, watching you on YouTube. Let me know where you're watching from around the world, and also, who do you think is going to win the race, or who do you want to get through to the next stage? Get yourselves involved in that chat right now. 1 minute to go in this session. We've got 0 times posted as of yet. It's only a 4-minute session, but they're really just out there. I don't know. Maybe a couple of corners they want to work on in terms of their entry or their exit speed. Maybe they want to be close behind another car just to see the effects of it. We've got there Massimiliano Pagano in the number 7 there, down in towards the hairpin. And I do firstly want to mention that if my voice sounds a bit nasally, I'm not very well, guys. So I can only apologise for that. I will try my very best to get through this and whatnot. But yeah, I'm struggling at the moment. Connery has been an absolute superstar. He'll be able to help me out here. But yeah, I apologise for the sound of my voice. If you're normally complaining about the sound of my voice, well, there's not a lot I can do about that. That's just my voice. But today, I'm not very well. So Connery, 30 seconds to go. Then the gridding procedure happens, and then it's a 30-minute timed race.
Absolutely. The tension is pretty up there at this point. Of course, drivers, like you said, getting the sort of last couple of little bits of practice in. Of course, these guys would have been practicing for weeks and weeks and weeks for this. So, maybe an extra couple of minutes not really worth all that much. It's more to try and get your head in the game good, so to speak. Just get yourself in the zone and look to try and go racing here in just a handful of moments' time. That's the attitude the drivers will be taking to this. Of course, they've gotten the results of qualifying now. They know where they're starting on the grid. They'll formulate a game plan in their head now, Luke, as to how to approach the 30 minutes to come.
Yeah. Exactly that. Here we go then. They've got 60 seconds to get themselves on the grid, and then we are ready to rock and roll for race number 1. Remember, the top 5 are what we're looking for here. So top 5 will indeed qualify through to the DTM Esports 2022 championship grid, and then we've got to be looking at 6th position down to 20th, because they will get a second chance later on today. So again, if everybody gets onto the grid sooner rather than later, we will indeed see the lights appear at the top of your screens. Oh, DTM Esports Championship. It's like 2 warm-ups we've had, plus the wild card as well. We've not even started the main championship yet, and we have got incredible frantic action for you. This is great stuff. As you can see, there's a few people in the crowd there all excited. We will actually be at Hockenheim in the DTM calendar for real this year, and it will be the finale of the championship. So looking forward to that. But here we go. We've got ourselves 25 drivers, 30 minutes of racing. We're waiting for those red lights to indeed appear. Then it goes green. But the DTM Esports Shootout Day number 2 is about to indeed go down. And we are green light racing here, and Payich in the Porsche has got an incredible start there. And that's got a nice ring to it, Payich in the Porsche. As we head then down in towards turn number 1, Vanna is indeed going to hold on to P2. Then there's 2 Audis of Markovic and Dinner, who is going to be in P3 and P4. There's so many changes of position in the background. Isaac Price then holding on to that top 5. And then we've got Neg trying to indeed impose himself there, but Price goes defensively in the BMW. And then we have just got a cluster of Audis with 1 McLaren there, just outside that top 6 here. And they're all costing each other time as 1 car, that's an Audi, is facing the wrong way, which is not ideal. But the front 6 kind of got away. Jan Courtois facing the wrong way, unfortunately, for TX3. And now really it's all about him getting back up to that top 20.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of drama going on behind with 3 wide into the hairpin in the mid-pack. This is what I was talking about at the start of the broadcast in the mid-pack, is he's got someone spun all the way around. Didn't quite spot who that was. It might have been Marcel Seeger towards the back of the field now in P21. He gets cycled back into that position. So we've had a couple of incidents happen early on here. Luke, but it seems like the vast majority of the front of the field at least have survived any further drama on this first lap, as you start to see Marco Payet try to pull away already. He's already got 0.7 of a second on Jonas Vanna here, so he must have strapped some rockets to that Porsche or something to be able to get that gap that early. It definitely looks positive for him in this race, but coming towards the final couple of corners into the final sector, it's Payet that leads from Vanna from Markovic, but Markovic has, well, a bit of a train behind him.
We saw last week, or 2 weeks ago, should I say, that people who look after their tyres tend to be in a good shape with a couple of laps to go. Payet is not one of those drivers that's too well known for looking after the tyres. Very quick, of course, out the gate here, but people like Isaac Price last time round came to attack very late in the race and were picking up easy opportunities really because they have indeed saved those tyres. But as it stands, it is indeed Payet from Vanna. It was Royce Rocca, unfortunately, that Rocco that indeed was falling back down the order there, the AMG that was facing the wrong way. Definitely the coolest name on the grid, if I'm being completely honest there. Royce Rocca. That is an incredible name.
Of course, an American driver as well. We get 99.9%.
They can drive. They're allowed to drive as well.
Yeah,
just to let you know.
I'm definitely not debating that point. But usually, as we see another little cluster head their way down in towards the hairpin for the second time in this event. Yeah, American driver. So we're 99.9% European here in this series. But Rocco trying to represent the States. But unfortunately, towards the back of the order after getting involved in that instance in the early stages. Oh, look at this though, in the battle for P3, Alita Dinya and Matija Markovic really going at it. And now Price is looking to try and poke his nose in somewhere in that BMW. He's up into a qualification spot, however, in that P5, but he's being followed quite closely by Mihai Neg behind.
Absolutely, and again, you know, Price, can you get a bit of insurance here? Get P4 or P3 with these two battling as intensely as they are. He absolutely would love that because right now he's got Neg just in behind the Romanian. Talking of Romanians though, it was Pavan in P11 that made that lunge down in towards the hairpin on the Audi and indeed got up into P11 on Bo Dixon. So Pavan making his move here, and he was actually like 58th seed through the time trial to get here. So that is an incredible performance to be up into P11 this early on. And again, it looked like it might have been a bit of a lunge, if you like, but ultimately hit the apex, didn't have any contact with Dixon there at all, and it was a really nice move. But yeah, back to the top 5 here. Payet gone, Vanna gone, Attila Dinya and indeed Markovic in the same Audi there, battling profusely. Like, it's an incredible battle from both of them, but they don't really need to be doing it. Isaac Price here just wants them to just chill out a little bit really, so he can build a gap here on Neg. But Neg, as you can see here, is well trying to make something happen. There's contact then down in towards the hairpin, and everybody kind of checked up there. It's almost like Dinya on the brakes a little bit too much. Markovic couldn't respond, neither could Price, and then the door was left open. The battle, well, Pavan versus Bo Dixon is happening once again through the Piccoli Come in towards then the stadium section here. Again, a very, very harsh pinch point here, and Pavan's going to run wide. Bo Dixon, door is open. Can he get those wheels through that door? He cannot, as Pavan then slides across, but he's going to be slow here on the exit. Can Dixon find a little opening as they come in towards the official stadium section here, and as they come through the sweeping right-hander down towards what I like to call the Vettel corner, and again using a lot of curb there as Pavan. You can tell Pavan's under pressure. Bo Dixon though not able to find his way through here, unfortunately, and actually might be finding himself under pressure from about 763 McLarens that are now forming behind him.
Yeah, never what you want to see in your wing mirrors, that's for certain. But Dixon's still trying to press on in this situation. Still 0.2 of a second behind the Romanian ahead of him across the line. Just shy of 25 minutes left to go. Dixon has a good run here. He's just keeping within less than a quarter of a car length behind Pavan at the moment. He might get himself a decent run here down in towards turn number 2. But turn 2, you know, even though it's a heavy braking zone, it's not really an obvious overtaking opportunity because by going for a move into there, you're basically ruining both of your runs out onto the back straight, and all of a sudden the third party can come and surprise you. But Dixon's got himself a fantastic last couple of apexes. Now we can look to try and make this move on the brakes into the hairpin. Pavan trying to go defensive. Dixon will commit to the outside. Can he get the overlap? Well, almost.
Yeah, not quite going to work out there. It's all about how early. You can get up the power on the exit. Actually, Parvan closes it off nicely. Battle between third and fourth really is heating up here as well, as it's Dinya versus Markovic, part 7. Markovic then trying to find himself a little opportunity again. Both cars exactly the same power units, exactly the same chassis. So it is really driver v driver here as we come then towards the final few corners into the final sector. There's Bo Dixon. Oh, there's been an incident then between him and Parvan. He drops a bit further back, and the battle was very, very intense then between the two of them. But ultimately, one driver has come off worse here. As you see another Porsche in the background there. So Bo, again, at this stage, you know, you're looking to move your way up towards that top 5, but here, it's just make sure you get into that top 20. Make sure you get to that last chance qualifier.
He's 17 at the moment, but he's got 18th and 19th behind him. He is a little bit more safe from Royce Rocco, who currently resides in that 20th spot, which is the final quote-unquote last chance qualifier spot, shall we say, back there in 20th. So it's not an awful situation for any of these drivers towards the bottom end of the top 20 just yet. It just means they just are kind of taking this as a little bit of a practice race for the eventual last chance that they'll get to qualify in the third race here today. Dixon still trying to pull off passes though, going around the outside, attempting around the outside of Luciano Wittvogt. It's surprising to see Wittvogt this far down as well in that Mercedes, but yeah, maybe he'll start to come alive when it comes to that last chance qualifier. Dixon's going to go for a bit of a move here, I think.
That poor Mercedes there, looks like I've sat on the bonnet of it. There's a big old crease on the front there, as we see a move being made a little bit further up the order as well. And I think that might have been Parvan involved in that again here, P11. Actually, it's a bit further back, actually. It's between 13th and indeed 14th position as it stands. There we go. So Ralph Bringer is in position as Ralph Bringer in P18. And then we've got Wittvogt just up ahead here as well. We've got then Sokovikov. I haven't seen Kirill Sokovikov in the RaceRoom Championships for a long time. Very talented Russian driver as well. And there is a massive Russian contingent on RaceRoom. Actually, a massive Russian contingent in the world of sim racing coming through at the moment. So the future's very bright for that region of the world. As we see Daniel Burke now in P12 and actually has got ahead of Parvan. No, Parvan's got away here, hasn't he? Yeah. Parvan's now P11 on his own, so he's now got a bit of room to work with, but needs to catch up to the top 10 if he wants to go through via the top 5. But as you can see here then, Burke is corking the bottle here. As he got a McLaren behind him, an Audi behind him, then an AMG, another Audi, an AMG, an Audi and a Porsche. So there's a group of 8 cars here all battling out to be in that top 12. Real battle on circuit, though, is indeed between 3 and 4. Attila Dinya and Markovic, they have been superbly close for what seems like now a good 3 or 4 laps, and they've battled incredibly, really considering that their positions mean they qualify. And the fact that Price has not really been able to close up and take advantage of this, as he is that kind of driver, is a bit mesmerising for me. As it stands then, it is indeed Pajic, Vanna, who is in P1 and P2, and again, Markovic trying to find himself an opportunity. But Connery, you've got to race clever here, you've got to race savvy, right? Because at the end of this race, if you put too much emphasis on the first 10 minutes, you are going to be hurting in terms of tyre wear when it comes to the final 20.
Really are. So these guys do have to be very, very careful. The more they fight, the more energy that they're putting into the tyres, the less they're able to focus on their optimal lines through the corners. And, well, that might be when the likes of Isaac Price, Mihai Neg, even Zeifler a little bit further on this train can really get themselves stuck in, because we're not even at the halfway point of this race just yet, and Dinya and Markovic have been trying to drive the wheels off of their car, and maybe a mistake there through the arena section for Markovic that has put Price back into position to potentially challenge, but knowing Price, he'll have to, well, he will be as patient as ever with these ones, I think, despite the potential pressure from Mihai Neg behind, but Neg is keeping off this one at the moment.
Yeah, for sure, and Markovic is under a bit more pressure here, and it's kind of very clear that he's faster than Attila Dinya in front, but ultimately every opportunity that he tries to take on to make an overtake that doesn't successfully pull off, Isaac Price is going to get closer and closer and closer, and everybody in this lobby knows that if Isaac Price has an opportunity to make an overtake, he is absolutely going to send it. There's no two ways about it, so you don't really want to put yourself in that pressurized situation. Neg as well is just got to be keeping close proximity here. Going into the last chance qualifier, being the number 1 seed is as useful as being the number 20 seed. It's as simple as that. Like you being P6 is great because you get one more race, but you're one position away from just getting through and not having to go through what will be a lottery in the final race. The final race always tends to bring out the best and the very worst of people, because ultimately it's all on the line. So you don't really want to be in that position. But as it stands, in a pretty good spot is Neg in P5, and actually gapping now P7. So P7 is Zeful. So Sasha Zeful not quite really keeping with pace here. So again, that's a pretty good thing for Neg, that he is kind of the isolated driver in this bubble position. So he's got no pressure behind. He can just focus on trying to catch the pack in front. But ultimately, I think he needs a little bit of help from these drivers in front, battling for a position. Vanna, by the way, starting to close back up on Payet. So 8/10 then between the front two. And the AMG coming into fruition, although they've got a backmarker McLaren here to contend with as well. You've got to hope for the backmarker gods here that they indeed just get out of the way nicely. But some of them will kind of race on tilt and be like, I want to prove that I'm as fast as the front runners, and be a bit of a nuisance for a few corners. Ideally, if you're the driver, I wouldn't mind them getting involved a little bit here, but if you're the driver in front, you want them to get out of the way as soon as possible.
Yeah, that would be the ideal situation, and well, it seems like that has kind of happened already. So out of the way, well out of the way, coming down the back straight. That lap car will duck back in line, just trying to get a little bit of the slipstream to let these leaders pull them along. But in this situation, it's probably not going to do all that much. Meanwhile, behind, Price still looking down the inside. Going to try and complete this move for the hairpin now. Price on Markovic doesn't quite get the drive off the corner, but that's the first shot fired by Price that we've seen.
Yeah, and Neg in behind is going to be smiling because of that. He absolutely will be really excited. Sokovikov up to P17, so made a move there on Royce Rocco. Frank Van Roon. I'm really surprised by that, because he was 23 off the start line, so 5 positions gained here. Really doing bits, absolutely doing bits here. So Sokovikov has got past all of these, as we see now Burka potentially losing a spot here to Luciano Whitver. So Whitver, of course, again, has got that very damaged AMG and was pretty unfortunate, had a pretty unfortunate shootout day one, and ultimately trying to right the wrongs here, but it's looking more and more likely that we're going to see them in the last chance qualifier race. So good for us who are watching at home, but not so much for Luciano. Isaac Price then with his seems like second real attempt here to potentially get up into a P4 position. Just trying to get himself some extra insurance here. Markovic, though, holding on strong. We know what Markovic is like. He drove really well in Shootout Day 1. Wasn't quite enough, but we kind of expected him to be back here for Shootout Day 2, and we actually fully expect him to qualify through today as well. But ultimately, if you lose a position to Price here, you're more than likely going to lose a lot of time, and Neg may be able to take full advantage as well. Front two, still Payet and Vanna, 1 second between them. So Payet has definitely been held up there by that back marker, because he's starting to extend that gap here. But if there's anything we know about Payet, the last lap, when you're leading the race, doesn't always go to plan.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to live that one down, as we see. Jesus, Neg getting very, very close to the back of Isaac Price there through the hairpin. But you are right, though. Payet is going to have that little situation haunting him for quite a while. Of course, all the best drivers find ways to deal with that, find ways to just sort of shove that out of their minds and get on with the job. But it's always going to be there. It's always going to have an effect on the driver's psychology, of course. Having a look a bit further down the order, Mo Dixon still trying to recover after his trials and tribulations from earlier on in the race. He's up into P12 now, trying to fight it out with the Czech driver of Peter Daniel.
Yeah, he's doing a relatively good job here, though, but Petter is going to make the move up the inside and make this very difficult for Bo, and squeeze so far out wide that Bo has to get off the power ever so slightly. Really good racing from both of them. Seems like there's a high level of respect here, but ultimately racing very hard indeed. And this is really all about psychology, because you're going to be racing against these drivers again in the final race of today, race number 3. And if you could put one on them now in the race, they know later on that, okay, this driver has one over on me. I know that they can overtake me, or I know that I can't defend from them. So psychologically, you're already beat. So yeah, Bo's going to be looking to try and do that really. Parvan has moved up to P10 here. So top 10 then for the Romanian. We've got 2 Romanians in that top 10. A Serbian, we've got a Brit in Isaac Price, we've got a Frenchman in P9, and then, well, as you would expect, we've got 5 Germans at the front there, which, again, like I said, you would expect for a DTM championship. It is a pretty German championship, should I say.
Of course. But it's good to see the multinational representation that goes on here in sim racing. It's always something that's really worked to its benefit. It's not just Germans here in the DTM. You got, I mean, it's also not just Germans in the real world, of course, but it's great to see everyone from all parts of the world getting themselves involved here in sim racing, because all you need is an okay PC for RaceRoom, have a copy of RaceRoom, have the cars, and you can try and qualify. That's pretty simple. You don't have to go out and try and work your way through karting and with all the expense of tens of thousands of euros that you have to spend or find somehow to try and get into racing that way. It's a lot lower of a barrier to entry, this sim racing, and you might discover some talents that perhaps wouldn't have had the financial capability to be able to go through the usual procedure of getting into motorsport.
Yeah, how mad is that? You've got to be looking at drivers such as Lando Norris, such as Lewis Hamilton, such as Kelvin van der Linde. These drivers have gone, from when they're, some of them 5-6 years old into a kart for the first time, and they're doing, they're 10 years worth of experience in karts before they even get a chance in a Formula or a GT seat. Whereas, effectively, a new driver is 3 steps away from driving a real car in this championship. Yeah. So, step 1. Get the game in a sim rig. Step 2, qualify for this stage. Step 3, get into the top 5 in the finals, and then I guess there's a step 4 in terms of the evaluation of the best all round, I guess, when they evaluate the drivers again. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to be done, but you are legitimately a couple of months away, whereas it's 15-20 years preparation to become a professional race driver in real life. But yeah, here literally you could have your life changed within 2 months. It's crazy. And this is the world we're in right now. This is a viable option into the real world of motorsport. We're seeing it right now. Moritz Lerner, for instance, he legitimately got himself a couple of podiums this year in the DTM Trophy in his first season. And wow, how did he get to DTM Trophy? Well, he got it because he won DTM Esports. He got a test in DTM Trophy. The team liked him. They gave him the first week in Monza, said, look, go out there and show us what you're capable of. And then the actual sponsor of the DTM media, Markt, came in and sponsored his car for the season. They're like, yeah, you are good enough. Here you go. He's also in it again next season. So, yeah, it's amazing to see that there are these opportunities for drivers to showcase their skills. Look at the winner of the DTM Trophy this season, Ben Green. He comes from a sim racing background as well. He actually has a Ginetta GT4 that he crashed when he was driving in GT4 or the Ginetta Juniors back in the day as a sim rig at home. We've then got Will Tregertha, who was, just last week taking part in the Le Mans Esports Championship in sim racing. He came second in the DTM Trophy Championship. So, yeah, the esports and real world, in terms of DTM, because esports is one of the 5 pillars of DTM now, they really are going hand in hand right now. But anyway, back to the battles we're seeing on track here. Attila Dinya is still trying to hold on to this P3, and Markovic is still not able to get the job done, but he will be able to take a bit more of a risk here because Isaac Price is not close enough to take advantage if he fails. So that could be a big contributing factor here. Look at this on the power. Markovic on the power really, really early there. But all of a sudden, though, look at Negan behind of Isaac Price. These 4, again, all battling for 3 spots to automatically qualify them for the DTM Esports grid. And again, one of them is going to have to go through the last chance qualifier, which will be happening later on today.
I am wondering if Mihai Neg has been saving through the first basically 2/3 of this race, and he's going to go on a hard charge here in the final 10 minutes. It's going to be a big ask, especially when you're talking about trying to get past someone as strong as Isaac Price. However, never say never, especially if Price, starts falling off the back of the battle ahead of him. He's starting to reel it back in now, at least on that lap. But if he doesn't have the slipstream of those cars ahead, he's a little bit more of a sitting duck, which then Mihai Neg can try and capitalize on and get himself up into a qualification spot from this first heat. But this is sort of bubbling along quite nicely at the moment, Luke. It's there's no absolutely crazy sends down the inside, outside, all over the place just yet, but it always has the potential, and Price has a run here down in towards the braking zone.
Yeah, and I think Price will probably go for this here as he gets covered off as soon as I say that. Markovic then holds that inside line, but actually goes out and defends the outside here as well. But Price then will be able to get the power relatively early. You can see them all snaking out of the corner. But we're not going to see them absolutely go at it right now, because 5th position is worth exactly the same as P1. You don't start any higher up on the grid when it comes to the DTM Esports later on this year. It is a case of just get yourself there. And Price is doing exactly that right now. He just wants to hope that he turned up to the driver's briefing, because that's the only issue from last time round. Pajic, Vanna, they're both in a good spot here as well. Same as Dinya, Markovic and Price. They will be the 5 drivers that qualify as it stands. And then you've got Neg, who leads the drivers down to 20th position. So 6th down to 20th. We'll be back later on tonight, where the top 4 from all of those drivers will indeed advance through. Again, we need to add then P6 to P20 from race number 2 as well. So there's 2 races tonight, but there's 3 opportunities for these drivers. A few questions in the chat. This is RaceRoom. This is RaceRoom on Steam. Definitely go check it out, ladies and gentle cars. Again, there's a free package you can download with lots of cars and lots of tracks, and also you can try all cars before you buy. Pretty cool system. So we're aboard here with Isaac Price in that final qualifying position. 8 minutes to go, and really all he's got to be worried about now is Neg getting too close.
Yeah, it's the gaps are sort of fluctuating in and out, aren't they? It's a pretty obvious thing to say, but it seems like one lap Isaac Price has it hooked all together, and another lap, all of a sudden Mihai Neg is starting to come a little bit closer to the back of him, you know, eating into those couple of tenths of a second. There's a lunge, a very big lunge from Mihai Neg down the inside of the hairpin. Not quite able to maintain the overlap by the time they get onto the exit curve, but that's a big, bold statement from Mihai Neg.
Well, ultimately, well, here we go. Part 2, he hits the apex, Isaac Price turns in, and Neg then on the exit here is going to be hung out to dry. Price is not going to give him an inch to work with there. But yes, Neg is absolutely now, well, he's showed his intent, hasn't he? You know, Isaac Price now knows that he has got 7 minutes here to defend from the Romanian. And Neg, you said earlier, has he saved something here? I think he absolutely has, because he is closing in at a rate of knots here. And he is not scared to send it. He is, again, channeling his inner Isaac Price, really, by taking every opportunity that comes. But, as you can see there, Isaac Price, the wily old fox, has not let that position go, and he indeed now has built a little bit of a gap there because of it.
That BMW is pretty good through that final sector. It's just able to extend that gap back to the Audi, but don't count the Audi out of this one whatsoever either. That was a big, big effort from Mihai Neg, just to try and keep Isaac Price on his toes, I think more than anything else. The percentage chance of that sort of move happening from that far back up is pretty low. It was more to try and scare Isaac Price out of line and into a mistake. So you can see the gaps between them have extended, at least on this lap, but I think Neg will get himself another opportunity, not on this lap right now, but maybe as we get to the couple of laps to go mark, is when he'll be back into position. And don't forget, Dinya and Markovic still nose to tail, by the way, and Markovic still not giving a lot of room to Dinya to breathe.
Yeah, and to be fair, Neg, or Price should I say, has been using these two in front to kind of get out of jail because he's had the toe to work with. At the moment, because of the time he's lost to Neg making a potential overtake on him, he's now lost touch with these. So right now, Neg, if he can close up, has a massive opportunity. The Audi seems very, very quick through Sector 2 and Sector number 3, maybe not through Sector number 1. So right now, Price has to try and get back onto the back of these two, because that slipstream really is helping him out. But Neg is closing in, and with, what, 5 minutes, 30 seconds to go, looking at 3 laps remaining of this race, he is mighty, mighty quick as it stands, and he is 1 position away from automatically qualifying for our DTM Esports grid.
Yeah, so, well, if there was one time where Neg could be able to show what he's made of, it's going to be in the final 5 minutes here, unless he wants to try and go again for another race a little bit later on in the last chance qualifier. Of course, everyone will prefer to get themselves through at this stage rather than have to risk it all in that final race of the evening. Price certainly very well aware of that situation as well. So he's continuing. Well, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. He's extended the gap there through Sector 1. Neg having a tough time out there through the first portion of this lap. So not going to be an opportunity here with 4.5 minutes to go at least. And now the gap is up to a second between Price and Neg. So yeah, something's not quite right with Neg, at least in the first sector there.
Oh, Markovic there for the first time nearly had an overlap to work with. coming out of the hairpin, but look at this, closing up into the slipstream here. We'll be forced to go out the high side here, but actually it's going to force Dinya to run ever so slightly wide on the exit. But once again, it is indeed going to be Attila Dinya who holds on to that position. And realistically here, if you're Attila, you're thinking, why are you attacking me here? Let's just both qualify, let's just both get through. Let's not give Isaac Price a chance to catch us. Let's not give Neg a chance to catch us. We're through here. They've got a 1v1 situation behind them that, you know, that's what they're worried about. Let's not make this a four-way battle where one of us potentially could go out. Again, we've only got a couple of laps here to go through, and we're both golden and we're both through. So yeah, Markovic just maybe needs to take a step back on this and not really push too much. Again, for us as a neutral watching at home, we want to see them attack, but you know, you've got to race clever at this stage of the race.
Yeah, you have to, and especially considering both of these guys are teammates, right? You know, they're both from RS Esports.
Yeah.
So the last thing you want, of course, in any form of motorsport is to have any sort of incident with your teammate, and it's even worse if it results in if one or even both of you end up not getting yourself a qualification spot because of it. So they do have to take this very, very sensibly. They can't just be having fights out there for the fun of it. They need to make sure that they come across the line P3, P4, and get themselves their slot in the coming season. But racing drivers are a funny bunch sometimes.
They certainly are. Let's have a quick look then at P20. So Kovikov, the Russian, then is in that final position to indeed get through to our last chance qualifier race. He's currently in P20, and then behind we've got the Italian in the McLaren. Trying to figure out who that is indeed. That is in my list, Massimiliano Pagano, who is in P21. And right now, you've got 2.5 minutes to try and get yourself as close as you possibly can here as Joyce Blocker tries to make a potential move on Corentin Puanto. Not quite going to work out there as Puanto just about holds on to the position. But again, these two, it's not really going to help them get towards the front five. They're just putting on a bit of a show here. Again, this is more psychological going into the last chance qualifier race later on, where it's a case of, look, I beat you quite handsomely earlier on. I feel like I'm going to do that exactly the same again late in the last chance qualifier race. So that remains to be seen as to how that works out. Stevie 11, unfortunately, this is the last opportunity to qualify for the DTM Esports grid today. But you should definitely subscribe to the channel and you can watch DTM Esports, and also it's become a bit of an annual event, so there'll definitely be another one, I would imagine, over the next the next year, and then after that, and then after that. So yeah, make sure that you do indeed keep an eye on the socials for DTM, RaceRoom, for any news on potential championships. As Joyce Blocker again still trying to potentially make a move here, not quite going to work out. It looks like Price is caught up to the back of Markovic now as well, and Neg is about a second behind. So the front five kind of golden here. I believe they're going to have one more lap to go after this one as well. Pajic, well, you never know what's going to happen here. He's still going to get through turn number 1 of the final lap yet. So we won't, exactly congratulate him until he's done that. And he's never going to live that down as easy. It's going to be the case if we're going to mention that all the time. But if he can get this job done in 1, I think I'll stop mentioning it. Again, Marko Pajic is an exceptional talent. We all make mistakes, even at the very sharp end of esports. He's also a very lovely chap as well. Just a few corners to go then for him on this lap, and then we'll head on to the final lap of race number 1. If you've just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, this is the DTM Esports Shootout Day number 2. We are going to be finding our final 14 drivers that will make it onto our DTM Esports 2022 grid. Is it 2022 this year? Yes, it is. Years, months, and days are all merged into one for me at this stage. So this first race here, the top 5 automatically qualify for that grid. Then we've got a second race of 28 drivers, or however many show up. 25 showed up for this one. Top 5 from that grid will automatically qualify for our DTM 2022 Esports grid. And then we'll have a last chance qualifier. So P6 down to P20 in this race, and P6 to P20 in race number 2, which is coming up for you straight after this one. They will make it to our last chance qualifier race, and the top 4 in that race, the final race, that's where anything goes, remember, they will also make it onto the grid. So we're going to find 14 more drivers, and that will add to our already qualified 14 from 2 weeks ago, and our 3 wild cards that qualified this weekend just gone. So that's a 31 driver grid, all of very similar pace. Take my money, Connery. It's going to be an incredible show.
It is. This one's not quite done yet, though. Mihai Neg has gained about half a second in basically half a lap here, thanks to the slipstream, thanks to the double toe from the cars ahead, but I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to make a lunge here down the inside at turn number 8. He's going to have to remain behind for now, but within 2.5 tenths of a second of a qualification spot. There's not many overtaking opportunities left, though, if any.
No, around the final few corners. I love what you just did there, Connery. You didn't say Romain, you said Romain. He's from Romania. You get it? It's funny. Around the final couple of corners we will go then. Marko Pajic, it looks like he's going to right the wrongs from last time round, where he spun around in turn number 1 and also didn't turn up to the driver's briefing even though he qualified. So that's why he's had to come back today. And again, he's going to finish in P1. It's going to be Vanna in P2. Dinya's going to finish in P3. But what about P5? Is it going to be Price? Is Neg going to... Well, Neg tried it. It's not going to work out. He is going to go through to the next stage, though. He's going to go to the last chance qualifier. But our top 5 drivers are going to be Pajic, Vanna, Dinner. It's going to be Markovic, and it's going to be Isaac Price. Those 5 will make it onto our DTM Esports grid. We've then got P6 down to P20, who will all also qualify. Well, what about this? Still coming in towards the final few corners here. Peterman trying to get up into P14. We've got Burka, who runs wide around the final couple of corners. It's 3 wide as they cross the line. And the last thing you want to do is be facing the wrong way now and get outside that top 20. What about 20th position? Is there a battle for... Well, Sokovikov. Yeah, Sokovikov is now 22nd. So Sokovikov has been involved in something here. He was P20 nearly 10 seconds ago. And ultimately, he's now down in P22. So I'm not sure what's happened there. But Sokovikov, the Russian, is unfortunately not going to make it through to our last chance qualifier race. Connery, we've got a great top 5 there. We've also got an incredible set of drivers behind them coming back for the last chance qualifier. But Pajic, Vanna, Dinner, Markovic and Price all make it through to the next stage of the competition.
They do, and hopefully, pending if they've turned up to drivers' briefings, that will be 100% confirmed. But yeah, it's kind of names that we expect to see. Pajic, you know, he was invincible today. He just sort of got away at the front of the field, didn't really look back. Vanna tried to keep him honest, trying to keep him within a second, but it just simply wasn't happening. It all happened behind Vanna, though. Dinya, Markovic, Price, Neg, nose to tail throughout the vast majority of this race here today. But in the end, it is Isaac Price that gets that final automatic qualification spot. Everyone from P6 to P20, though, they will have another chance this evening after the second heat.
Absolutely. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is our first set of drivers sorted out for today. We are indeed going to be back for race number 2 very, very shortly after this very short break. And then, as we do go green light racing, Moritz Lerner does start in P8, and a couple of drivers there not quite getting off the line. Lots of smoke, though, being chucked up in the air is Marko Pajic, who has made a move for the lead, has the inside line in that AMG, and you can see that Fiducci then's going to be hung out to dry there in that multicolored Audi. And I tell you what, they are side by side here, and it's a brilliant bit of work there actually from Fiducci. He's kept the overlap there. It's brilliant stuff there from Fiducci.
Well, this is the battle for that crucial, or rather getting towards that crucial top 5 point, but just look at how they're fighting wheel to wheel for it, though. Moritz Lerner and Alexander Dornaden going side by side. Dornaden got the back end out a little bit. Of course, cold tyres.
Lerner's made a lovely move up the inside here, then from P6, and he's got past Pfeiffer up into P5 then again. That is the bubble position, isn't it? P6, you don't really want to be there.
It's all about making a statement sometimes, and here comes your race leader then on the final lap through the final corner here, Luke. Fiducci does it.
Oh, he does. As we come then across the line, Fiducci is the driver to beat. It's race number 2 of qualifying day number 1. Top 5 will get through to our Esports Championship, and then it's 6th to 19th that will make it through to our final race today in the last chance qualifier, and it's the long run down towards turn number 1. We are green light racing, and actually very similarly to what we saw in race number 1. Looks like the leader hasn't got the best of starts, but the second phase by Siggy was absolutely incredible. But look at this lunge up the inside then. Yashul and Siggy have a bit of contact there. Yashul's going to hold on to it there. And it will indeed impede him on the exit. And Isaac Price has got a great run here on the Scandinavian. And he's up the inside of the Swede. And Isaac Price then, we know, if he finds himself in an opportunity, he is absolutely opening that door for sure. I think Price, he's got to go early here to try and move down that inside. He's not going to get an opportunity. Pliska just slowly moves over, and now he is going to be very slow on this exit. But look at Hogvelt here. Hogvelt is going to try and take advantage of any potential contact. Pliska has to leave that room on the outside. Tim Yarshall, though, again, has set his stall. He has posted a statement here, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Yarshall wants to get the dub. He wants to get the job done. And we are green light racing, ladies and gentlemen, the last chance qualifier. And I tell you what, I think again here, P2 has got a phenomenal start. PH, though, going across to defend that position as soon as they possibly can, and will indeed end up having that inside line. Keithley not going to be able to find, oh, he is going to be able to find a little bit of a gap here. Runs out wide, has to leave the room for PH to come back on the circuit here. But yeah, he is still ahead there. Dornington not able to make that move. Oh, Hogvelt goes for it then. The drive up the inside here. Opportunity did indeed knock. He opens the door. Dornington then closes that door. I wouldn't say close, he slams that door. And actually, for the first time, oh, there's contact there between Luciano Whitver, the ballast. Oh, there's a spin there as well for the Audi. Oh, that is not good. It's Jan Stanger, who is now off into the grass here. Again, booking his ticket through. Comes up towards that final chicane, grabs a bit of curb on entry. Oh. It's a poor exit here. Dornington has closed up here. He has to force the Italian defensively. Dornington takes the wide entrance through the corner. And what about your exit here? Are you going to finally get this done as a drag race? Ottaviani's done enough. Alessandro Ottaviani, the surprise of the day for me, has booked his ticket through to our final grid. Congratulations to him. So there you go. There's what we saw from last time out. That was Shootout Day number 1. We just had race number 1 from Shootout Day number 2. But now it's time for race number 2 of the day. And well, let's have a look at some of these drivers here. We've got Leon Rudinger, Christopher Hogvelt. We've got Axel Vermeulen. We've got Sebastian Ree, Robert Wiesenmuller. We've got Leonard Carton. We've got Kasper Siedlovic. We've got Manuel Rodriguez, Adam Pinches, and Rasmus Salo. Well, pick us through there, Connery. Look at some great names.
I think most people know I'm a pretty big fan of at least the ability of Hogvelt to try and negotiate this situation. I think I've picked him as one of my favourites in a couple of races that we've done together, Luke. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make it happen through the process of that first shootout, however, in here today. But of course, I get the feeling the driver that you're going to go with is Pinches, because don't count out the Hungarians.
There's always a Hungarian. It's always Hungarian. But one of my favourite people in the world of sim racing is in this race, which I actually didn't expect to see, is Manuel Rodriguez. This guy is a beautiful looking man. He is a beautiful man in terms of his just everything about him. I love him. I just absolutely love him. His personality is incredible. He's just a really nice chap, but takes these things very, very seriously. Not only does he put in hours upon hours of practice, like he has a proper diet for sim racing. Like, he's always in the gym. He's just looking after himself perfectly because he wants to get into the real world of racing as well. So yeah, seeing Manu Rodriguez on the grid is awesome to see. He comes from a background of pretty much everything. More GT Sport over the years, I would say. It's been his main game, but yeah, he always seems to appear in these championships somewhere along the line. So yeah, good to see him around.
With the way you were talking about him there, I thought you probably should just go on a date or something. That was.
We have done.
Well, the less said about that, the better, I suppose. But yeah, Rodriguez, 10th place in qualifying at the moment, with the initial laps coming through, of course. They've still got the full 10 minutes to be able to get themselves their times set. But not a terrible starting position for Rodriguez at the moment, and he's in the process of improving right now. Green through Sector 1, green through Sector 2 as well. He's got a bit of a slipstream of the cars ahead of him. So hopefully this one should be a little bit better than 10th place. Yeah,
absolutely. And well, we saw from Hogvelt last week that he is just there or thereabouts, isn't he? Again, he maybe needs a bit more of some fortune going his way, but I'll tell you what, you don't need fortune when you're on pole position by 1.5 tenths of a second. The Swede is right in amongst it today. Manu Rodriguez about to come across the line and improve on his time. How much is it going to be? Currently 11th spot, and it's good enough for P8 as it stands then. And well, people in the chat then, I can see you all talking in there. Who are we supporting? Where are you watching from around the world? Always good for you to get involved. Adam Pinches, it is always a Hungarian. He's proven that fact. There is always one somewhere in amongst sim racing. He's currently in P2 on the grid. Very good time there indeed from him. Great stuff.
Yeah, and Vince's actually not the only Hungarian here today, because we got Martin Barner. So we've doubled up on the Hungarians here today. And, well, Barner from M1RA Esports also out there in the BMW. So he's going to be our Isaac Price for today, being the only BMW in the field for this particular heat. Hopefully he gets the same fortune as Isaac Price and gets himself inside that top 5 to automatically qualify.
Yeah, Martin Barner, expecting to see him right up there in the top 5 at the very least. He is very well known in the world of RaceRoom Esports, as same as Adam Pinches. But again, if you're looking, I'm looking at these 2 driver lists here from race 1 and race 2. And race 1, you're thinking, oh, absolutely, that is head and shoulders the stronger of the 2 heats. And then you actually see the names and them going around qualifying here. In this, you think you're not too sure, right? Like, both are just ridiculously stacked fields.
Yeah, they really are. And, like we've just been harping on about time and time again, this is the top level of RaceRoom. Many of the top level drivers in sim racing in general as well, although it is kind of difficult sometimes to try and compare across sims, because different sims behave in different ways sometimes, even though they're all trying to be as realistic as possible. That's a whole podcast discussion, I suppose, there, Luke.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, at least here on RaceRoom, these are some of the top guys. And, well, Christopher Hergfeld out there, purple through Sector 1 on this lap, so it looks like he's going to be, pretty close to improving on his provisional pole position setting time. And the purple sector through Sector 2 as well certainly points towards that.
Yeah, chosen a different car this time round as well. He was in the Mercedes, right? The AMG last time out, if I remember correctly. This time out in the Audi, and looking very quick indeed. And whoever's in that McLaren in behind is not going to be too far off as well. So interested to see who that is actually in that McLaren, because they've been right behind pretty much this whole lap. So they're going to be going fast if Hookveld's going fast. Oh, a bit of a moment, shall we say, at the final corner. That might cost a little bit of time, but don't worry about it. It's going to be good enough for 0.5 of a second to indeed improve there. I think Ree is just behind, right? Is that Ree P6 just in behind Hugfeld?
Might just have been, yes. And
that's why he is the top McLaren on the grid, because he was right behind Hugfeld. If he was going quick, then so was the car behind him, because Ree was not far behind at all. And again, top 6, you want to be in the top 5. You're just behind Rudinger, who's one of the more well-known drivers from the RaceRoom community. We've got a Salo then on the grid here as well, down in P10. It's not Mika Salo, but yeah, we do have a Salo all the same. Again, if you want to win, you hire a Finn, right? And currently in P10 is Salo, Rasmus Salo there. So could they potentially get themselves up in the running for the top 5, as Rudinger actually goes a little bit faster here and goes up to P4. Look how close the times here. It was actually 1.5 seconds for the first session between first and last, and right now it's 1.4. So the field are a little bit closer here, but look how close it is in the mid-pack. Like, that's where you want to be looking from. Let's check out from 6th down to 20th, right? So that's the battle for position in terms of if they finish in that order, they will not go through in this race, but they will be back for the last chance qualifier. There's 6/10 between them. Like, it is ridiculous how close everybody is. I saw a couple of people in the chat supporting the Macedonian driver Lakovsky, who's currently P21. As well, a Macedonia flag is probably my favorite flag in the world, and you don't see it very often in sim racing. You do see it every now and again in RaceRoom. I'm trying to think of the most famous sim racer who's got that flag, and it will probably be Erhan Yuyovsky, who's the most famous Macedonian, but you don't see it very often.
Yeah, I've just spotted Rasmus Salo, the Finn, getting himself up into P11 at the very dying moment of qualifying. So just a little bit closer to the top 10, of course. Like we've said many times before, it's the top 5 from these heats that get themselves through to the main DTM Esports competition. But there's the rundown of the starting grid then for heat number 2. And, well, we'll get a little bit of a break here in between the qualifying and the race as well. Just gives us a little bit more time to perhaps rest your voice a little bit, Luke, because you're, of course, struggling with the illness.
With the illness, yeah, don't worry, guys. I just got a cold. It's all good. But yeah, let's have a look at the highlights from what was it? Shootout day number 1, which was a couple of weeks ago. Indeed, running into today. And as we do go green light racing, Moritz Lerner does start in P8, and a couple of drivers there not quite getting off the line. Lots of smoke, though, being chucked up in the air is Marko Pejic, who has made a move for the lead, has the inside line in that AMG, and you can see the Fiduci then's going to be hung out to dry there in that multicolored Audi. And I tell you what, they are side by side here, and it's a brilliant bit of work there actually from Fiduci. He's kept the overlap there. It's brilliant stuff there from Fiduci.
Well, this is the battle for that crucial, or rather getting towards that crucial top 5 point, but just look at how they're fighting wheel to wheel for it, though. Moritz Lerner and Alexander Dornaden going side by side. Dornaden got the back end out a little bit. Of course, cold tyres.
Lerner's made a lovely move up the inside here, then from P6, and he's got past Pfeiffer up into P5 then again. That is the bubble position, isn't it? P6, you don't really want to be there.
It's all about making a statement sometimes, and here comes your race leader then on the final lap through the final corner here, Luke. Fiduci does it.
Oh, he does. As we come then across the line, Fiduci is the driver to beat. It's race number 2 of qualifying day number 1. Top 5 will get through to our Esports Championship, and then it's 6th to 19th that will make it through to our final race today in the last chance qualifier, and it's the long run down towards turn number 1. We are green light racing, and actually very similarly to what we saw in race number 1. Looks like the leader hasn't got the best of starts, but the second phase by Siggy was absolutely incredible. But look at this lunge up the inside then. Yarshall and Siggy have a bit of contact there. Yarshall's going to hold on to it there. And it will indeed impede him on the exit. And Isaac Price has got a great run here on the Scandinavian. And he's up the inside of the Swede. And Isaac Price then, we know, if he finds himself in an opportunity, he is absolutely opening that door for sure. I think Price has got to go early here to try and move down that inside. He's not going to get an opportunity. Pliska just slowly moves over, and now he is going to be very slow on this exit. But look at Hogveld here. Hogveld is going to try and take advantage of any potential contact. Pliska has to leave that room on the outside. Tim Yarshall, though, again, has set his stall. He has posted a statement here, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Yarshall wants to get the dub. He wants to get the job done. And we are green light racing, ladies and gentlemen, the last chance qualifier. And I tell you what, I think again here, P2 has got a phenomenal start. Pejic, though, going across to defend that position as soon as they possibly can, and will indeed end up having that inside line. Keithley not going to be able to find, oh, he is. No, he is going to be able to find a little bit of a gap here. Runs out wide, has to leave the room for Pejic to come back on the circuit here. But yeah, he is still ahead there. Dornaden not able to make that move. Oh, Hogveld goes for it then. The drive up the inside here. Opportunity did indeed knock. He opens the door. Dornaden then closes that door. I wouldn't say close, he slams that door. And actually, for the first time, oh, there's contact there between Luciano Whitver, the ballast. Oh, there's a spin there as well for the Audi. Oh, that is not good. Jan Stanger, who's now off into the grass here again, booking his ticket through. Comes up towards that final chicane, grabs a bit of curb on entry. It's a poor exit here. Dornaden has closed up here. He has to force the Italian defensively. Dornaden takes the wide entrance through the corner. And what about your exit here? Are you going to finally get this done as a drag race? Ottaviani's done enough. Alessandro Ottaviani, the surprise of the day for me, has booked his ticket through to our final grid. Congratulations to him. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen. We have got 2 minutes 50 seconds left of our warm-up here at the Hockenheimring for race number 2 here in the Shootout day number 2. Top 5 in this race are indeed going to advance to the DTM Esports 2022 final grid. And then 6th down to 20th will join 6th down to 20th from race number 1 in a last chance qualifier race, where the top 4 will also advance. We'll find 14 drivers going through today, and that will indeed make up our full grid going into the DTM Esports, which will be run over the next few months, where there'll be 2 races every 2 weeks. The grid, it was very quick across our screens, but let's just have a little run back as to how it went down. Christopher Hogveld, the Swede, is on pole position. We've got Adam Pinches then, who is in 2nd spot from Hungary. We've then got Axel Vermeulen, who is in from Belgium in 3rd spot. Leon Rudinger is the first of the German drivers, then in 4th. And look at this name here, Robert Wiesenmuller, who indeed was the head of esports at RaceRoom for many, many years. He is in a top 5. If he was to finish there, he would automatically qualify for the DTM Esports 2022. Leonard Carton starts in 6th. Sebastian Ree starts in 7th. We've then got Kasper Schieslewicz in 8th position. We've then got Nico Sonnel in 9th, and Martin Barner is always a Hungarian. There's 2 of them in the top 10 in 10th position. So it's nicely poised here. Robert Wiesenmuller head of esports up until late last year, now moved on, is in the top 5 here. You know, you can't claim developer hacks anymore.
Yeah, maybe there's some remnants that he has of knowledge of the sim now. It's fine. It's all on merits. It's great to see Robert getting himself stuck in. Of course, you know, it wasn't too long ago. He was responsible for the organisation of these sorts of things here on RaceRoom, but getting himself involved in it as well. That's only something that we could ever hope to do between me and you, Luke, because I'm a terrible driver, and at least you do still race more often than I do in terms of the competitive sim racing. So I think you might get a leg up on me like that, but none of us are good enough.
I was going to say, speak for yourself, Connery. Don't throw me under the bus. God, I'll have you know I'm a Daytona 24-hour and a Bathurst 12-hour winner from last year. God, unbelievable. I've got pedigree. I tell you, I've got pedigree. But there is a reason why I'm talking over these race car drivers as well as Connery. It's because we're just not very good. He's right. He's absolutely spot on. There's a difference in class when it comes to these drivers. These are the very tip-top of the world. Right, I'm watching the YouTube chat here as we go to the last 15 seconds. Who is going to qualify here? Who's your favorite driver, ladies and gentlemen? And let me know where you're watching from around the world. Not long to go here, Connery, for our 30-minute race. I'm going to ask you for a prediction. Yeah, who's going to win?
Yeah, we'll get transferred into racing modes. Of course, you know, I've said it so many times. The Swedes, the driver of Christopher Högveld, I think he's going to get it here. In terms of maybe not necessarily the race win, but a qualification spot for sure. Depends really on how the start of this race goes. If he's able to get away clear and get himself unscathed through that first hairpin for the first time. But yeah, the field is a little bit tighter here for this second heat compared to the first heat. That's at least what the qualifying times have told us. Maybe it will result in a little bit more of a competitive race and more drivers involved in the battles for those top 5 spots.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the top 10 really go at it today. I think this is going to be the race where, to be honest, compared to what we saw from Shootout Day 1, Shootout Day 2 has been less spectacular, if we're going to be honest. The racing, again, was hard fought in race number 1, but there wasn't really too many chances being taken. Race 2, I'm going to predict there will be quite the opposite, and we are going to see some proper battles for position. Just the 15 seconds to go here before we do indeed kick off race number 2. 30 minutes of racing action then at Hockenheimring. It is the second race of today. Top 5 qualify for the DTM Esports 2022 Championship Grid. And then 6th down to 20th will make it to our last chance race here. We're waiting for the green lights to show. And we are still waiting for one more driver to appear on the grid before we can go. And we are green light racing. So we are going to go without one driver here. And it is the lead then for Högveld straight across. And no, it's not the lead for Högveld. Yes, it is. So unfortunately, the Polish driver there, Siewicz, is unfortunately not going to be working out. Speeding in the pit lane, apparently there's a drive-through, but ultimately just has not got to the grid here. As we come then through turn number 1, it is Högveld, Pinches, Rudinger, Vermeulen, and Wiesenmuller as your top 5. And they've got away relatively nicely here, and they were the top 5 in terms of qualifying. But again, similarly to race number 1, it's kind of a lead group of 6 or 7 or 8 cars, and they've got a nice little gap into the rest of the field.
Yeah, they've been able to really get away well. There might be if not one, but maybe a multiple instances of 3 wide down in towards the hairpin for the first time. We're seeing Carton trying to pull off a move on Sebastian Reed. There's a bit of a cluster through the mid-pack as well. A bit of trading paint happening further down the order. I think everyone's pointed still in the right direction, which is already an improvement compared to heat number 1 as we head down in towards turn number 8 for the first time. Martin Barner trying to go side by side, wheel to wheel with Salo as Salo gets a couple of positions at the start, but Salo gets turned. Oh, that's not how you would want it done. Salo out into the gravel. I think he hit the wall there as well, has to rejoin the circuit, but that was nothing on Salo there. He got completely turned.
I think it's all on Salo. I think he's pit maneuvering himself there. Like, he can't, the 2 cars on the outside of him is 3 wide effectively. He has not got clear there at all. Whether he'll have crew chief telling him that or not, remains to be seen. But I'm actually watching it back right now on the broad. Yeah, he's just pit maneuvering himself. Like, he's tried to open up the right-hander, and he had no right to be moving left. So, yeah, for me, Rasmus Salo, that's all on him.
That was at least my initial reaction there, but of course we don't get the luxuries of replays here. But
that's the beauty of what we do, isn't it? You know, opinions and whatnot. But yeah, it just looked like he moved over to the left when he just wasn't fully clear. And he can't expect the two drivers on his left who are already too wide and using every inch of the circuit together. They've got, you know, it's not a case of he wants them to move over. They just can't. It's as simple as that. So yeah, it's unfortunate there for Salo. Yeah, thankfully there's a delay to the actual broadcast that I'm watching, and I can see that for a second time. But yeah, unfortunately for Salo, it means that he's now got a battle to try and get into the top 20 again, or is he still in there? No, he's P23, so he has got a hell of a racer on his hands now to try and get out of the order.
Yeah, here he is. At least he's got the train ahead of him. He's not too far adrift of everyone. Of course, he has to be careful of damage to that Audi as well. Looking okay as far as I can see, at least visually on the car, but sometimes damage can be a little bit more hidden than just some cosmetic bodywork damage, as we're seeing the scrapping back here. Maximilian Lorenz just involved in the thick of things there, trying to squeeze through on a couple of drivers in that Porsche through the S's section, and now winding his way through into the arena, heading their way into the Sachs curve here in just a few moments. So battles on the outside of the top 10 here. Kuta, here the French driver trying to fend off the Dane of Alexander Secker further back in 15th place. But in the end, all line astern coming through these final couple of corners. Lorenz still looking for that line on Fossetta this time, of Fosto.
Yeah, Lorenz doing a pretty good job here of holding firm from behind, but also looking to attack going forward here in the Porsche. It's just not really coming into fruition here, although it's a really nice run through turn number one. It's going to be forced for sure to go the long way round in towards turn number two. Can Maximilian Lorenz make it happen? Late on the brakes there. Has he gone too late? Yes, he has. And he's actually now going to leave the door open and potentially lose out to his teammate, Ikuta, as you rightly pointed out there. And these three, again, you can almost high-five each other down this long straight down towards the hairpin. The Porsche just seems to have a little bit more poke than the Audi, albeit with a bit of slipstream as well here. Forced to go round the outside again. And can he potentially make the move stick this time round?
Whoa.
Oh dear, there's contact, and they're teammates, aren't they not?
Yeah.
I think they're teammates, aren't they? No, it's not. So Fosto is not a teammate there, and that was interesting to say the very least, but I'd need to see that again effectively, see whether indeed it was Fosto that moved across. Yeah, that was pretty messy.
Yeah, that was a big loss of control there for Andre Fosto into the hairpin, and well, thankfully there's a decent amount of runoff. Someone's around again there, just trying to flick through. Was that? Yeah, it was Gregor Hudjek.
Oh, Hudjek.
Yeah, Gregor Hudjek, 23rd place now. So for the Slovenian driver, it doesn't look like it's gone at all well over the course of this second heat race in the AMG Mercedes. There's been a couple of fly stop to drop now.
Yeah, watching Fosto's initial move back, he's gone very defensive and he's tried to force the drivers to go around the outside, right? And then he's got greedy and he's tried to open up the corner too much, and it was all on him. He just basically drove across the driver on the outside. And it's kind of like, if you make a defensive move and you force them to go around the outside, you can't then expect to have all of the track to use. Well, Casper is indeed being disqualified there for ignoring a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which is very, very unfortunate. We're on board of Martin Barner, P8 as it stands, right behind Ree, and then they've got a little bit of a gap then up the order to the next driver. But we're going to see a potential move here. Yes, we are. Barner forced to go the long way round then. That McLaren is very, very long and deep. But I'll tell you what, Barner has played that perfectly. Not quite able to get onto the power, though, to make the move. But Sebastian Ree then holds on to P7. And ultimately, they're just losing time here, right? You know, as much as this is fun to watch and stuff, that Leonard Carton, who's currently in P6, is going to be able to drive away here. But he's losing a lot of time then to the front five. As we're on board then with Maximilian Lorenz, who's looking to make a move here on Manuel Rodriguez. Or actually, I think it's Rodriguez that's coming back through the pack, to be fair. As, oh no, Lorenz has cleaned out the Audi there. And that was, again, that was the Porsche, basically, being very greedy in terms of just didn't want to lose any time with the car making a mistake. Iku's the one that's made a mistake, and the Porsche is just not. There's a yellow flag effective situation there, right? And he's just not wanting to slow down through there. So there's contact between the two of them, and I think the Porsche's got away with it, right? I think Lorenz has got away with that. But ultimately, is there going to be damage to Porsche's car because of the contact there? I'm not too sure. But anyway, position gained. Manuel Rodriguez moves up to 13th position. And again, they're just not really that close to the top five, so it's very difficult for them to be fighting for that. But psychologically, what can you do here to put yourself in a very good position moving into the final race, if you like, the last chance shootout? Here's your leaders then. 1.1 seconds separating the front three. It's Vermeulen and Wiesenmuller that's very close here, isn't it? Fourth and fifth. Look at them coming down here. And it's kind of, if you're in P6 right now, if you're Leonard Carton, you're thinking, oh, can you two please battle for position just to give me a chance to catch up here? Then we can have a bit of fun. How clever are you going to race? I think Wiesenmuller is going to race as clever as he needs to. Again, he's I'm not saying he's old, but he's one of the older drivers in the grid. He's got a lot of esports experience in terms of watching it. Today, he's probably going to take a leaf out of the amount of times he's told drivers to race clever, and he will just be top 5, get yourself through, and you can move on. But yeah, again, Carton needs to try and close up here. Doesn't seem to have the outright raw pace right now. We saw earlier on in race number 1 how important it is to save some tyres towards the end of the race. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Carton is when it comes down to sort of 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, Carton's in a very, very similar situation to Mihai Neg from the previous race. He's in 6th place. He has a pair ahead that has the potential to have a little bit of a fight with each other. Although it wasn't successful for Neg in the end. He got so close. He put a good attempt in and got within a couple of tenths towards the end of the race. But how does Carton improve on that baseline that was set by Mihai Neg in the first heat? How does he negotiate what is a very similar situation to that previous race? And of course, the two guys ahead of him are also different as well. I don't know whether Wiesenmuller is going to be overly aggressive with Vermeulen. I think he'll probably just try and sit pretty if he can, but then again, you're always watching the relative in these sorts of situations. You're seeing Carton remaining that 0.6 of a second behind. If you start seeing that start to reduce, then you get a bit worried.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. But you've also got to watch out for Martin Barner, who again is no stranger to RaceRoom Esports, who tries to make an optimistic move down towards the hairpin, and all of that hard work is just lost. Sebastian read the situation, let him come through, almost like he had a bit of red fabric and a ball was coming through. He's like, yeah, absolutely, you carry on. No problem whatsoever. And yeah, Barner stays in P8, and he's now got all that hard work to do to catch up once again. So that's making it more and more difficult here. With only 20 minutes, 30 seconds to go, you think a 30-minute race is quite a long race, really, considering sim racing. But 20 minutes is not a long time when everybody else is pretty much exactly the same pace as you.
Yeah, it is. Usually you have these huge pace differences between drivers, even in the official ranked side of things, where it tries to attempt to group drivers together based on their skill. But sometimes the rift between drivers can be quite large. But it's only when you get towards these sort of competitive esports situations where you have an as close as a grid as is basically possible. Of course, things will be a little bit closer once we get to the main season, no doubt. But for this, it's raced a little bit differently compared to those regular races that these drivers will be taking part in a day-to-day basis. They can't just be going fast one lap, going slow the other lap, just being completely inconsistent. The consistency is the name of the game here when it comes to drivers that are this close together.
Yeah, but also you've got to factor in it's a different prize today, isn't it? Top 5 go through. So it doesn't matter whether you're P1 or P5. They mean exactly the same, although Wiesenmuller has been caught here by Carton. So Carton has found some serious pace as it goes here, and Vermeulen may be under a bit of pressure as well. So if you're Wiesenmuller, you maybe now have to try and force a move here to get a bit of insurance, because the AMG here of Carton is flying towards the front 5 as it stands. Front 3 are kind of, well, especially the front 2, Pinches and Hugveld, 0.3 of a second apart. Pinches is a very experienced campaigner by now. You wouldn't expect him to try and make a move here unless it's really late in the race. You kind of just stick behind, and you're not really going to be expecting Rudinger to try anything too crazy as well, because they've all got a bit of a gap to work with in terms of the next group of 3. But this group here, this is going to get frantic. Again, Carton will not want to finish P6 and then have to go through the whole lottery again, because you've got to be on the limit in terms of qualifying. You have to qualify well. You cannot have an off moment. Again, being P6 right now, qualified well, did Carton. He was P6 on the grid in terms of qualifying. So he's done, really, really well to be in this position, but just take a bit of pressure off yourself. You don't, oh, wow, how is he saved that? He should be off into the wall there. That's incredible stuff. And now you've got to take advantage of that. That could have been your race over. But now, you're still here. you're just behind P5, you've got to take advantage of that bit of fortune.
Yeah, heart-in-mouth moment for Carton there, just getting the car unsettled, completely out of shape over the exit curb through turn number 1. He's able to gather it up though and continue on with not all that much lost time compared to Wiesenmuller. He maybe loses an opportunity to get the overtake done into the hairpin, yes, but doesn't lose the slipstream. He remains within that second. It could have definitely gone way, way worse for Leonard Carton in that situation. Battling behind, though, for P10, Klaus Schulze and Nico Sternl. The two Germans deciding to fight it out here for a top 10 spot. No moves being made down in towards turn number 8, though, but Sternl did give it a little bit of an attempt at the hairpin. Has a little look here into the S's section, but we all know, well, that's a low probability move of happening.
Yeah, it is, especially when you're actually racing against the exact same car in front of you as well. Like, you know the strengths and weaknesses of it. You both got exactly the same. But yeah, the two Germans here trying to get themselves into a top 10 or solidify a top 10. Cernal just in behind Schulze as it stands. And Martin Barner, who is not the car actually, just ahead. Barner's a little bit further ahead actually. Yeah, he's just closing onto the back of the pack here. It was, I'm trying to think, is that Herbilion?
Yep.
Currently in, oh wow, okay, so they've moved up from P14 by the way in this race to where we are now, P9. So that's a really good performance there from Herbilion. A TX3 driver, lots of badass esports TX3 drivers on the grid today. It's kind of been the order of the day, if you like. Lots of Audis here as well. Audi has definitely been the choice of car, hasn't it? Last week, what was it? The 2 weeks ago, the AMG? To be fair, but this time round it is definitely the Audi. I've seen a couple of people asking what game this is. This is RaceRoom Racing Experience. You can get it on Steam, download it, it's free. You can indeed get loads of base content, but also the cars that you can purchase and the tracks you can purchase, you can actually test them in game. So absolutely go and get yourself involved there. There's Renault, Herbilion under a little bit of pressure here. And then you've got a little bit further up the order, Martin Barner trying to get past Sebastian Ree. And then you indeed have battle for that top 5. Carton in 6th position, trying to close up here on Wiesenmuller and actually losing a bit of pace here. Remember, the top 5 from this race will automatically qualify for our DTM Esports grid for the 2022 season, which will start in a few weeks' time. And then we've got one more race this evening, and that is going to be the last chance qualifier. So 6th down to 20th in the first race, and this race will all be put together in one mega lottery race. Top 4 will indeed advance to make it to our DTM Esports grid, making up a 31 driver grid. It's going to be really exciting. I cannot wait for it, but still a lot of hard work for these drivers to do.
Yeah, still half the race to go, 15 minutes to be exact, and well, this spell for 5th place between Wiesenmuller, Carton, you know, you said it yourself, has extended somewhat as Carton has fallen off the back of this one a little bit. Of course, we saw that multiple times with Mihai Neg last race as well. You know, he was sort of getting onto the rear bumper, then dropping back, getting onto the rear bumper, then dropping back. So I think it's a similar situation here with Carton as well, just as the race ebbs and flows, but he needs to do something that Mihai Neg was not able to do, and that is execute the pass, get up into P5, and get inside that qualification spot. That's what's important here at the heats. Of course, yes, you get that last chance qualifier as our 3rd and final race here today, but you want to be doing it now just to save yourself the stress, to be honest, in this situation. You don't want to ever be put in that final race, because you know it's all or nothing, and you never know what other drivers might do knowing that as well.
Well, exactly that. You know, sim racing is one of those esports where you can have a direct effect on someone else by just bending the rules slightly, having a bit of contact, forcing someone into a wall by accident, as they would say. Yeah. It's you just don't want to leave it down to that. Get the job done now, and then you can sit back, relax, and have a beer, have a cup of tea, whatever tickles your fancy, and watch everybody else stressing and sweating over this. But as it stands, these drivers here battling for what, P10. It's not going to be good enough for them, but going into the last chance qualifier, try and find some form. So if you are just outside that top 5, try and find a bit more form. Maybe try and find in race pace where you can gain a couple of tenths. Maybe you can learn something for qualifying during this race as well. Following someone else, you'd be like, oh, hold on, they're a bit faster through there. How are they doing that? And ultimately, looking a bit stronger into the final last chance qualifier, which is exactly what we saw actually last time round. the front four in the last chance qualifier weren't all what we would say were the favourites going into it. So you will see some people improve. You will see some people really take their opportunity. Once it gets down to that last chance qualifier, and there'll be other drivers that will crumble under the pressure.
There's always one or two, isn't there? There's always one or two where the pressure just gets too much to them and they completely and utterly collapse. You know, there's even some of the best sim racers, you know, that you've heard of, not just from RaceRoom but in other sims as well, have had those sorts of situations happen to them before. And well, the best drivers take it as a learning experience, you know, just to try and figure out what went wrong and how they push forward and how they deal with the psychological element of that. But yeah, it makes these drivers grow pretty quick whenever they have some heartbreak.
Yeah, look at Hoogveld. He's a prime example of taking his opportunity, because last time out he was very close both times in both races he was in to qualifying. It didn't quite go right for him. He's come here today and he is absolutely written the wrong. Same as Marko Pejic from race number 1. He's won. Didn't quite make it last time out for, well, not turning up to the driver's briefing, but in race number 1 he completely bottled it, didn't he? As Cernal is off the circuit then, and that will be, I believe, I think he's dropped at least one position here. I'm surprised that's not... Well, no, he hasn't. He's staying in P13. So, yeah, not ideal. Off the circuit we go. There was an intense battle at the very least between the two drivers, and it was going to come to blows at some point, and it did. But again, you're in the top 20, which is good enough to get through to that last chance qualifier. It's not ideal preparation, though.
It might have been one of the situations that just boiled over a little bit while these drivers are trying to fight in amongst each other. In the mid-pack of this one, like you said, mentioning about that when we mentioned it earlier, it's all about the sizing up the competition, those battles in the mid-pack. They know perhaps that their chances of getting inside the top 5 at the end of this race are pretty slim to none. So you might as well use the time to the best of your advantage. Oh, Sebastian Ree has completely butchered the hairpin there, but Barna gets a whole bunch of oversteer and, well, lose some rubber in the track, trying to get the power down out of the hairpin. Might still have an opportunity into turn 8 though, but he's going to lunge it. He's going to send it down the inside here. It eats into the apex, but again, there's going to be no exit speed.
So yeah, sending one up the inside is the order of the day today, but if you can't get the power down on the exit, it's rendered useless, effectively. Again, it took a massive mistake from Ree to effectively open the door for Barna, but Barna was not able to make it stick. Still going to be P8 for him, as we now are on board with Adam Pitches under a bit of pressure here from Rudinger, as there's a 2-second gap now between P1 and P2. If you're Rudinger, you go potentially there and have a little bit of fun, I would say, because you've got a bit of a gap to work with, but don't do anything too silly. You're in a comfortable spot. You're qualifying for the next stages of this competition. Just get that done first and foremost. It looks like Vermeulen's actually gapped Wiesenmuller here. So Wiesenmuller is a driver under a bit of pressure. So Carton is not really close enough to put a move on. But now that Wiesenmuller is going to start to lose the toe of Vermeulen, maybe under a little bit more pressure. If Carton can isolate him, and you can see here, Wiesenmuller already trying to break that toe from Carton. So he has lost the toe in front. That's the telltale sign here. So big couple of laps now for Carton. If Carton can close in, Wiesenmuller is not going to get that out of jail free card. Barna is going to potentially make a move here on Sebastian Ree. Through the kink, they come down towards the hairpin. His nose is ahead on the braking. The McLaren then able to brake a little bit later. But Barna, how early can you get on the power here? Almost, well, there is a bit of contact here. This is still going to continue down towards the stadium section. BMW power versus McLaren power through the flat-out right-hander. Barna then needs to leave that room on the exit for, indeed, Ree to be able to take advantage and stick around. Ultimately, it's still not going to be enough here for the McLaren, and well, it took 4 corners, but what a move there from Martin Barna up to P7. And I tell you what, with 8 minutes 57 seconds to go, if he can now gap this McLaren, could he potentially go and catch up for that top 5?
Especially if Wiesenmuller becomes under even more threat to Leonard Carton, well, becomes threatened by Leonard Carton behind. You know, that might be a situation where they slow each other both up, and Barna can continue to try and pull in this gap. Yes, it is 3.5 seconds to Carton at the moment. That Martin Barna will have to catch up, but that can be gobbled up very, very easily with a couple of corners of side-by-side action between Wiesenmuller and Carton. So definitely don't count Barna out in this situation. Again, in the only BMW in this field. There's a handful, a smattering of Mercedes here today, but like I said, dominated by Audis. But Carton, he has one thing going in his favour now. Wiesenmuller no longer has a significant slipstream from Vermeulen ahead. Now Carton can use that to his advantage. He is closer to Wiesenmuller. He's still on that edge of being a second or so back, but it's just one thing going in his favour, and sometimes you do only need that one thing.
Yeah, Martin Barner has to take solace in the fact that Carton has to go and attack, has to make an overtake. Otherwise, he doesn't qualify. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, Barner just needs to put in some consistent lap times here. Just try and build a bit of a gap to Ree behind him and then look to attack going forward. But again, it's a big old gap, isn't it? What we're looking at, Barner, and we're looking at Carton. The gap's around about 3 seconds. No, 3.5 seconds. So, yeah, Carton's got a big job on his hands to go and catch that gap down. But again, maybe he's going to get a bit of help if Carton can catch up to Wiesenmuller. Them two battle for position, and then it becomes a little bit easier. We're on board with Adam Pinches here. It just seems to be falling further and further back. Hoogveld now 2.6 seconds in the lead here. Ultimately got out to about 1.1 second lead initially, then got caught back up by these two drivers behind, by the way, and then it's gone out there and indeed gain that advantage once again. So around about 2.6 seconds the advantage for Hoogveld to Pinches. Pinches is flirting with danger to Rudinger. Rudinger, though, not really getting close enough to make a genuine move. So, yeah, as much as this looks close, it's not really going to come into fruition, I don't think. And even if they do get close enough, I can't see Rudinger risking his P3 right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There's no point whatsoever in Rudinger even attempting this. He can just sit behind, just allow Pinces to lead him around the circuit, and it's an automatic qualification spot for him. I mean, yeah, I mean, you want to have a little bit of fun sometimes. You want to go and sling it down the inside at some points, and well, you can see the different lines being taken there through the hairpin in that instance. But I think Pinces is pretty secure in this second place. Rudinger, I would just say, just forget about any move in the situation, despite the buffer that he has to cars behind. Barner, oh, he's continuing to try and catch up that 3.5 second gap to Carton. He's got a 1/10 or so of a second of it done already, but he's bringing Ree with him, though.
Yeah, he's definitely closing the gap. That's the main thing here. He is closing up to Carton. Carton is maybe not closing up to Wiesenmuller. Again, with 5 minutes, 40 seconds to go, it's very much impossible to see that gap closed up for me. I think it's probably job done here for Wiesenmuller. If you lose from this position, you maybe got to question your defensive ability. I think, yeah, you're in a good spot right now if you're Wiesenmuller. You've done the hard work. Now this next 5 minutes is just to grab that top 5, move forward, and then we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time, right? It's as simple as that. Whereas someone like Carton, maybe you do take some risks now. You're going to burn the tyres out, but you've got to take some risks here. It's now or never, and as you can see there, that's a mistake. Runs massively wide out of turn number 1, so he absolutely is throwing everything at it. As you can see, Barner in the background, it's not a huge gap, but he's making some sort of gap then to Ree, which means he can just take the best line around the circuit. He's not having to look defensively at all. So I think Barner's got more in terms of pace within himself, but until he shakes off Ree, he's not going to really be able to take full advantage of it.
Very smart, and he knows that Barner potentially has the pace to try and catch Carton ahead. Then it might be within Ree's best interest just to stick behind here and just to allow it to happen. Oh, butchers the entry to the hairpin, though. Barner a little bit offline as well as a result, but Ree will get the better speed off the corner. Does he send one down the inside at turn 8? I wonder in this situation, but for now, the body language of the cars say not quite.
No, but what he's done there is he's basically sort of faked a move.
Yeah.
So what he's tried to do there is he's tried to force the driver in front of Martin Barner to make a steering correction whilst getting on the power to defend a move that really wasn't happening, just to try and gain some sort of advantage. Barner did not fall for that at all, and he's actually gained some time because of that. A massive hit of the sausage curb as well for Ree. It's cost him some time, and now this might be the opportunity for Barner to go and potentially close up. What we're going to have? We're going to have 3 more laps as they cross the line now. So 3 more laps here, plenty of time. I say plenty of time, it's actually no time at all, what am I talking about? But he needs these two in front to start battling. Carton is definitely closing in, but it's not by enough. And
again, very wide out of turn 1 as well. Same mistake as he did last lap. Doesn't lose as much time in this instance compared to the last lap, but you can see he's trying to push the edge of the track limits. And, well, it's bit him in the butt once. It's almost got him twice there. But Carton now within 9/10 of a second, so he's getting there, but it needs just to be that little bit more in this situation, and he has to also potentially rely on a mistake from Wiesenmuller too.
He does need to rely on a mistake there, and Wiesenmuller is, again, one of the older drivers, you'd say, so bags of experience behind him, so should be okay to hold on to this position. But in all fairness, you look at someone like Carton, got to take pride in the fact that you were the fastest that didn't qualify. So going into the final race today, Connery, that's going to fill you with confidence, right? You know, he still might get an opportunity here with 2 to go as they next cross the line, because he is again closing up. But if he doesn't, he'll know that he's the fastest from this session here, and that again, he will feel pretty good going into the next race.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a positive that you can take out of this, even if you don't finish in the top 5. If you're almost there, if you're Carton, if you're Barner, if you're Reed, then that looks pretty optimistic, you got to say, coming into that last chance qualifier race. You just got to make sure you don't butcher the qualifying of that last chance qualifier and make life so much more difficult for yourself when it comes to the actual racing action there, as Carton's sliding the car through the penultimate corner. Well, if you needed any more evidence that he's pushing, well, I don't know what else to say, but still 9/10 of a second is the gap between him and Wiesenmuller.
Yeah, again, it is coming down, and we saw a few laps ago that Carton was making a few mistakes through turn number 1, but ultimately that was very, very quick through there. And again, he is super, super close. He's going to get that slipstream down towards the hairpin. I don't think he's going to be able to attack this lap, but the next lap, he is going to be close enough, isn't he? This is going to come down to the absolute wire. Remember, this is the last automatic qualifying position for our DTM Esports Grid 2022. There is one last chance qualifier race, which is going to be between 6th position and 20th in this race, and they will be joining 6th to 20th from race number 1 tonight. But ultimately, if you can get this job done in the next couple of laps, you've just saved yourself a lot of work. He's struggling to get the power down. The rear tyres look pretty shot to me.
I think I seem to remember this being a theme at the Nürburgring with the Mercedes as well, the rear tyres going off towards the end of the races there. So we might be seeing a little bit of a repeat here today, but at the Hockenheimring, as that AMG Mercedes through the very well, the slow speed exits, shall we say, the big traction zones at this track, it just seems to fishtail all over the place. So, for example, coming out of the hairpin, and well, that's where he's losing quite a bit of his time. Still, at this point, it is going to require some form of divine intervention for Carton at this point. He hasn't made as much progress on this lap as is required, and he only needs that one opportunity. He only needs that one look into the bus stop or turn 8. Not into the bus stop, it's to the hairpin or turn 8. And it might happen for him, but 7/10 of a second at the line. It's closer than last lap, but we'll see.
It's now really on Wiesenmuller keeping it on the straight and narrow, keeping it between the mayo and the mustard, as they say, as to whether there's going to be an opportunity here for Carton. It's all on Wiesenmuller. Carton can drive the fastest lap in his life right now, and he's really only just going to close up below that rear wing. It's not going to be a case of he's going to get an overtake done. So if Wiesenmuller doesn't make a mistake here, he is going to be absolutely fine. Again, the Mercedes really is struggling in terms of trying to get grip out of the slow corners. Hugveld, great performance here, 3.7 seconds clear. Pinches, Rudinger are looking very good to go through. Vermeulen as well, the Belgian, is in 4th position, but it's this final qualifying spot here then. And Carton, is he going to be able to get the power down? Again, you just see him, as soon as he gets the high revs through gear 1, gear 2, car just does not want to put that power down. Through the kink right-hander in towards the stadium section again for the very final time. Again, the front 4 are good. They're fine. They're going to qualify here. Although you can see that Rudinger is trying to put on a bit of a show. I don't think this is a very wise decision. The last thing, again, what are you doing, guys? Guys, just get through. Get into the top 3 and move on. Don't try anything too silly. It's the group in the background here. Carton's close here. We've got 4 or 5 corners to go. It's going to be Hugveld, Pinches, Rudinger, and Vermeulen. They're going to be your top 4. Who's going to get this final qualifying position? Is it going to be Wiesenmuller? Is Carton going to be able to launch an attack through the final couple of corners? Wiesenmuller just got to keep it in between the white lines and he's golden. It is going to be Wiesenmuller who will take P5. Congratulations to Christopher Hugveld. Congratulations to Pinches, Rudinger, Vermeulen, and Wiesenmuller. Carton, he pushed, and he pushed. Wasn't quite able to get too close there. He's going to finish in P6, but remember, P6 down to 20th. They are all indeed going to be back in our next race, where the top 4 from that race will make it through as well. It's going to be Oliver Betzmere, who is going to be your final driver making it through to the last chance qualifier race. Again, apologies for my voice, guys. I am not very well today. I'm trying my best. Got one more race to go. I'm going to give it my absolute all. As you can expect from me, that's a minimum. But yes, that is why my voice is a little bit not ideal. But it is what it is. We move on. So there we go. Hugveld takes the victory here. We're just waiting for the final classifications to pop up on your screen, and there it is. So Hugveld P1, Pitches P2, Rudinger is in P3, Vermeulen in P4, Wiesemuller in 5th, and then look at this, you've got Carton, Barner, Ree, Schulze, Manu Rodriguez as your top 10. We're going to see those 5 drivers who finished 6th down to 10th in the next race coming up for you right after a short break. Herbilion, Lorenz, Cernal, Grunwald, we've got Seca, Salo, Nikola Latkovsky, Budjek, Fielder, and Betzmere are going to be your last 10 drivers. So they will all be back for the final race, ladies and gentle cars. And then these drivers, unfortunately, we will not see. So Ikut, Fosto, Brunner, and Sealslovich. We're not going to see them again. So there we go, Connery. Different race there, but again, it seems to be the case of people are just chilling, really, today. It's just nothing really too much happening. A couple of people trying to make moves down towards the hairpin, but it seems like if you do that, too many times, ultimately you're just going to burn those rear tires up, and it's going to completely ruin your day, effectively. We go into the final race, and it's literally the final chance to qualify for our DTM 2022 grid. What are you expecting from the final race?
Who knows at this point? Who knows? Because we've had 2 races that have had some bits of action here and there, some little looks. We haven't had the absolutely bombastic affair that was the races at the Nürburgring. Let's just say that. However, this is where this could change, because this is the last chance. This is the absolute last chance as well. Of course, we were talking about the last chance qualifier in Shootout number 1 being a last chance. This is it for real. This is the last opportunity, the last slots to get yourself qualified into the championship. If you don't do it here, you're never going to do it for this season, and you're going to have to wait until 2023. That's the situation now.
Absolutely. You look at last time out 2 weeks ago, it was the case of, here's your last chance qualifier. But psychologically, it wasn't the last chance qualifier, because they all knew that 2 weeks' time, there was another set of races to go through. This is it. It's the last chance qualifier. And, well, if you weren't here around for Shootout Day 1, we've got a nice little highlights package to show you who's qualified and who got through to our grid. And then, as we do go green light racing, Moritz Lerner does start in P8, and a couple of drivers there not quite getting off the line. Lots of smoke, though, being chucked up in the air is Marko Pajic, who has made a move for the lead, has the inside line in that AMG, and you can see the Fiduci then's going to be hung out to dry there in that multicoloured Audi. And I tell you what, they are side by side here, and it's a brilliant bit of work there, actually, from Fiduci. He's kept the overlap there. It's brilliant stuff there from Fiduci.
Well, this is the battle for that crucial, or rather getting towards that crucial top 5 point, but just look at how they're fighting wheel to wheel for it, though. Moritz Lerner and Alexander Dornaden going side by side. Dornaden got the back end out a little bit. Of course, cold tyres.
Lerner's made a lovely move up the inside here, then from P6, and he's got past Pfeiffer up into P5. Then again, that is the bubble position, isn't it? P6, you don't really want to be there.
It's all about making a statement sometimes, and here comes your race leader then on the final lap through the final corner here, Luke. Fiduci does it.
Oh, he does. As we come then across the line, Fiduci is the driver to beat. It's race number 2 of qualifying day number 1. Top 5 will get through to our Esports Championship, and then it's 6th to 19th that will make it through to our final race today in the last chance qualifier, and it's the long run down towards turn number 1. We are green light racing, and actually very similarly to what we saw in race number 1. Looks like the leader hasn't got the best of starts, but the second phase by Siggy was absolutely incredible. But look at this lunge up the inside then. Yarshall and Siggy have a bit of contact there. Yarshall's going to hold on to it there. And it will indeed impede him on the exit. And Isaac Price has got a great run here on the Scandinavian. And he's up the inside of the Swede. And Isaac Price then, we know, if he finds himself in an opportunity, he is absolutely opening that door for sure. I think Price, he's got to go early here to try and move down that inside. He's not going to get an opportunity. Pliska just slowly moves over, and now he is going to be very slow on this exit. But look at Hogveld here. Hogveld is going to try and take advantage of any potential contact. Pliska has to leave that room on the outside. Tim Yarshall, though, again, has set his stall. He has posted a statement here, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Yarshall wants to get the dub. He wants to get the job done. And we are green light racing, ladies and gentlemen, the last chance qualifier. And I tell you what, I think again here, P2 has got a phenomenal start. Page, though, going across to defend that position as soon as they possibly can, and will indeed end up having that inside line. Keithley not going to be able to find, oh, he is. No, he is going to be able to find a little bit of a gap here. Runs out wide, has to leave the room for Page to come back on the circuit here. But yeah, he is still ahead there. Dornington not able to make that move. Oh, Hogveld goes for it then. The drive up the inside here. Opportunity did indeed knock. He opens the door. Dornington then closes that door. I wouldn't say close, he slams that door. And actually, for the first time, oh, there's contact there between Luciano Whitvert, the ballast. Oh, there's a spin there as well for the Audi. Oh, that is not good. Jan Stanger, who is now off into the grass here. Again, booking his ticket through. Comes up towards that final chicane, grabs a bit of curb on entry. It's a poor exit here. Dornington has closed up here. He has to force the Italian defensively. Dornington takes the wide entrance through the corner. And what about your exit here? Are you going to finally get this done as a drag race? Ottaviani's done enough. Alessandro Ottaviani, the surprise of the day for me, has booked his ticket through to our final grid. Congratulations to him. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the DTM Esports Shootout day number 2. You just saw the highlights from day number 1. And, well, this is it. It's the last chance qualifier. We've had 2 races today where the top 5 in both races have already advanced to the DTM Esports grid for 2022. But ultimately, right now, it's 6th down to 20th from both races and now here in this race here. So we should have nearly, well, I think 31 or 32 drivers potentially on the grid, and it's only the top 4 now that advance through. It is qualifying. You can see that there are about 4 million cars all trying to find themselves some room on circuit, because you need to maximize your time here. Once the clock goes to 0, you don't finish your lap, you are done. That's how it works in RaceRoom. So yeah, you've got to try and get your lap times in as soon as you possibly can. So interesting stuff here, Connery. Are we expecting absolutely anything and everything here? Or is this going to be kind of the top 3 or 4 that we saw from each race? Well, I say top 3 or 4. What is it, be 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, those kind of positions that we expect to see them at the top?
I would say always expect the unexpected in these sorts of events. You know, it's basically the final slots in the championship on the line here. So there are some drivers that really thrive under that sort of pressure. You know, they just find another gear from somewhere and are able to go even quicker. Some, like we've already discussed, decide to crumble when the pressure gets too much. So, you know, it just changes the whole context of the race here when you know it's the last time that potentially you'll be out there for your DTM Esports season. In terms of individual drivers I would pick for this one, it is absolutely impossible to tell at this point. Yeah, I think obviously we do have the expectation, like you said, of those drivers that did well in the heat races to be up there. Of course, that's pretty much a given. But I would say there's probably going to be a few wild cards being thrown in.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at Carton. Carton was probably the closest to qualifying out of everybody outside the top 5 in race number 2. Wasn't able to overturn the deficit of Visa Muller. And there we go. Ultimately, we'll end up in this race. Whitvert did not have a good race in race number 1. He didn't have a good week last week in terms, or 2 weeks ago, at the Nürburgring either. Again, so much misfortune so far during his campaign. Is today the day for the Dutchie to book his ticket to the DTM Esports Championship grid? Well, he's got, 10 minutes here and then 30 minutes of racing to go to find out. But through sector number 1, it is purple. That means he's faster than absolutely everybody who's already gone through sector 1. It's a good sector 2 as well. So the Ballast Esports driver here looking superbly strong in towards the arena section, down in towards what will be the 3rd from last corner. Again, nice cambered corner there, so you can really get on the power nice and early, or maybe a little bit too early there for Whitvert. Grab then a little bit of curbing just to open up the double right-hander. Again, curbing on the exit there to maximise your speed through the final corner onto the AstroTurf. Bit of curbing as well. Across the line we go. A bit of slipstream to work with and should be right up there. It's not quite pole position, but it's good enough for second as it stands, but it's not anymore. So third position then as Ziefler has gone into P1. Neg, who we're expecting as well to be up there, who was sixth in race number 1, is currently qualified in second, 700ths of a second off the pace. And we saw 36s in race 1 for qualifying. We saw a 37 for being pole position in race number 2. Right now it's a 38, but I'm sure that we're going to see a little bit faster time. As Barner in the BMW has gone in there and put a 38.0 in.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Barner, of course, not having an incredible heat race. Of course, you know, that's probably one of the more obvious statements I'll make all day. He's not having a great qualifying at the moment, it seems, with all the traffic ahead of him, but great in the sense that he's pole position, not great in terms of this lap, I suppose. So that's going to have to be one that's abandoned there by Martin Barner due to all of the situation that was going on ahead of him through that first sector. But Barner, in the right, you know, in clear air, he's as quick as anyone out there, you know, if not quicker. But however, he got himself caught up in a little bit of traffic in his heat race. That meant he wasn't really able to progress forward as quickly as he would have wanted. But this is a new clean slate now for the Hungarian. He's got himself provisional pole position, and by a good margin, back to Ziefler as well. So this is looking much, much more positive for Barner. So I think if Barner gets himself pole here, gets himself off the line in an effective fashion and survives the hairpin, we could see Barner walking away with this as far as a race win is concerned. For sure at this point, as I'm just having a little bit of a look down the order. We do have Daniel Burker still down in P25 right now. I'm not seeing too many drivers that are completely out of position in this situation. We've got Sebastian Ree, maybe P14, maybe looking for a little bit better over the course of this race. A top 10 start at least, I would expect from Sebastian Ree, but a lot of work to do still in this qualifying session with less than 4 minutes to go. Bo Dixon, P6, our fan favourite from the first race. He's got himself in a competitive position to start this last chance qualifier. Maybe if he can gain just a couple more hundredths of a second and get ahead of Blöcher, then that would be beneficial as well. But for now, everyone, not seeing anyone going. Oh, there we go. There's a Sector 1 best lap being set by Ziefler here. So Ziefler, he's seen Barner's lap time, just going, okay, that's competitive. I might be able to go faster on this one.
I think I was just muted, by the way, for I don't know how long I've been muted for, but I'm not anymore. So it might have sounded like Connery was talking to himself. He definitely wasn't. I was talking, but I might have been muted, so I can only apologise for that, ladies and gentlemen. Barner, 1/10 clear here, which in a field that are this tight, that is miles. You can see the top 22 separated by exactly a second here. It's so tight. You know, the difference between 10 positions is a couple of tenths here, as we've just seen Manuel Rodriguez popping up into second spot in the Audi. Wow, that is, again, was relatively quick in race number 1, but didn't expect too much considering, you know, didn't even just about finish in the top 10 in the race, but ultimately is in P2 right now. And we said that there might be that one driver that learns a little bit about themselves or learns a little bit more about the game as they go through their race or their first chance today. Manuel Rodriguez is that driver. It's 0.005 of a second between him and Barner at the front. But that is an incredible time, and we know the Audi's probably the quicker car overall in a race trim as well.
Ziefler not able to improve on that lap. It wasn't a great Sector 3, so remains in third place. Barner still 0.005 of a second ahead of Rodriguez here. That is as close as you'd like. Rodriguez went faster on this lap through Sector 1 as well, so he might have a little bit more in the tank to get himself up into pole position here at the very dying moments of this session as well. So it's go time for Rodriguez. Set a fantastic banker lap, and now he's gone purple through Sectors 1 and 2. This is looking pretty good, Luke.
Yeah, it really is. 2 sectors purple. That's exactly what you set out to go for. It needs to find 5,000ths of a second. As it stands, through sector 1 alone, he was up by nearly 900ths of a second. Around the final couple of corners, then we will go through. Manuel Rodriguez is about to find some extra hold. Bo Dixon, by the way, up to 3rd as well. He is 800ths of a second off the pace. I think Manuel Rodriguez, though, might be about to take pole position. Across the line he will go. Is it good enough? Oh, it's not. So the final sector's let him down. Final sector's proper let him down there. It's going to be P2 at the maximum here. And then we've got Zyfler, who is off the circuit. He's not going to improve here as well. And into the pits we will indeed come. And it was a sector 1 and sector 2 purple again. And right now, Martin Barner is in a great spot. Although Mihai Neg is about to come around the final corner, the Romanian, who is currently P5. Can he spoil the top 4? And it could be pole position, you know. Across the line he will go. And it is P3. P3 then from Mihai Neg. But look at the top 4 then. Barner, Rodriguez, Neg, and Dixon. We've got Zyfler. We've got Carton as your top 6. And it moves far too quickly for my brain to be able to compute, ladies and gentlemen. But ultimately, that is your top of the grid leaderboard. Incredible stuff. 30 drivers there as well, remember. So this is going to be an incredible race. And you've got to expect there to be some sort of carnage. You want the front 4 are just going to be begging and pleading that they can get away. But there is your grid. Barner, Rodriguez, Neg, Dixon, Zyfler. We've got Carton, Whitver, Pringer, Blocker, and Stanger as your top 10. What a top 10 that is, Connery, and what a race we're in for.
That was a pretty tense qualifying session as well. We had multiple drivers towards the end there that went purple either through Sector 1 or Sector 2 or both. Yet none of them were able to try and hook up Sector 3 good enough to surpass Martin Barner at the very front of the field. So we've got a race on, I think, here, Luke. Barner, you know, best of them in qualifying at the moment, but well, I did say I expect to run him to run away if he gets a good start here. I don't necessarily believe that is true anymore, especially with the pace that Neg and Rodriguez were showing.
Yeah, and you've got to be clever. You've got to race clever here. Top 4 obviously go through, but this is more than likely going to be very close throughout the top 10, and expect this to maybe go down to the last couple of corners here with multiple drivers battling out for that top 4 position. And well, you know, we are heading towards the 2022 season, and maybe it's worth checking out what the 2020 season was all about. Will he pin the apex? No, he's overshot it. Lerner will take the lead, and Lerner's waiting for the last second. Keighley's going to get second. Keighley's going to get second. What a finish here, Connery. No, Timo Glock. So Timo Glock right now is earning... Oh, no, contact there. That's not good at all. Here, Nuninghoff and Pinches. Nuninghoff is back up into the lead here. Well, hold on, what's going on? Yarshall's made a mistake here. So Yarshall dropping down. Yarshall's now P10. Oh, no, there you go. Ivanov. Nuninghoff has gone here. Adam Pinches has also gone here. Oh, he's on the circle. Oh, big smash there. Big crash. The long run down towards Blanchimont. He's up the inside line, getting squeezed onto the apex then by Nuninghoff. Ziyovsky trying to get involved too as well. Nuninghoff late on the brakes here. Will he pin the apex? No, he's overshot it. Lerner will take the lead, and Lerner's waiting for the last second. Keighley's going to get second. Keighley's going to get second. What a finish here, Connery. Maurice Lerner takes the victory. Keighley second. Uses the curb to rotate the car. Contact once again between the two, but I think Jimmer might have the run here. Not quite. Oh. So Kelvin's just going to lose that to Nuninghoff. And as you can see, Nuninghoff has waited and waited and waited. He's closed up here ever so gradually underneath the rear wing. Runs out wide then through turn number 1. And wow, he's going to go for the switchback here. Keithley runs out wide. He will now automatically have the inside line for the next 2 corners. You can see him fighting with the oversteer of the car there, using the curb to rotate the car as well. Turn 12, lap number 2. So maybe he did have contact between the two, and he's using the pit lane here for Ivanov. Ivanov trying to make the move up the inside to turn 1.
Fight with Bedin here. Bedin with the up and under coming through Lecombe. Oh, Ivanov got crossed up.
Genuine push to pass. That might be called there. A little bit of a love tap. And, well, he couldn't get the move done initially. Down towards turn 1, though, he has. Jimmy Broadbent around the outside. Battle. Oh, Timo Glock there running out wide. You can see Kelvin van der Linde's looking on here, thinking, oh, a couple of positions potentially here. Romanidis then looking for a late lunge up the inside. Kelvin van der Linde then just about holding onto the car. He's in behind Timo Glock. and Romanidis, well, Romanidis is up the inside, so Romanidis is indeed going to momentarily get a position, and Kelvin then in P2, he's got the inside line then through the second part of the chicane, and well, very aggressively there, puts Jack Keithley almost off the circuit, and this will be for the lead of the pro race.
Couple of errors, oh yeah, there's, well, I've jinxed it.
Then trying to find a move here as well. Round the outside for Yoyoski. Yoyoski did not qualify in race number 1, but now he loses out here for second spot. And Murner will take the checkered flag here at Spielberg. What a finish here, Connery. And you can see it there, the relief. He knows that he is the DTM Esports 2020 champion. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We just saw Moritz Lerner, who indeed won the DTM Esports Championship merely, well, it's not even a couple of years ago, really, was it? It was just over a year ago, and ultimately got himself a test to drive in the DTM Trophy. He then, off the back of that, got a chance to race at Monza for the rounds 1 and 2 of the DTM Trophy season, and he impressed enough to get a full-time drive. He's actually going to be driving as well in 2022. But these drivers here are in last chance saloon territory to go out and win the prize for this season, which is one driver will get a fully financed driver package to race in the 2023 DTM Trophy. I'm the commentator for DTM Trophy, so I'm super excited to see one of these names in that championship, but it is full of the transition between esports and indeed real racing. We've got Ben Green, who was the champion, Tim Heinemann, who is an absolute RaceRoom legend, champion from season number 1, Will Tregertha, who indeed is in every major esports race there is at the moment. You know, he's kind of like, when you've got the pro drivers and the sim racing drivers put together, he's one of those like Moritz Lerner himself as well, where you've kind of, he's sort of cheating a little bit because you get a pro driver, but ultimately he's classed as a sim driver as well at the very top level. So yeah, it's a big opportunity here. This is the final race of today's broadcast, and again, the final race where these drivers have a chance to make it onto our grid for our 6-week championship, and only 4 of them go through. 30 drivers, 4 opportunities to go through. Right now, it's a case of you don't want to get to tomorrow morning, Connery, and think, oh, there was so much more I could have given there. I could have done this, I could have done that, I could have tried this, I could have tried that. Right now, you've got to leave absolutely everything out there, take your opportunity, and just do anything in your power to get onto that grid.
I could not agree more. I could not agree more with that. This is going to be potentially, well, there's a couple of ways this could go. One, this could go pretty messily, all things considered, because drivers, you know, they will go all in on some of these moves, and they want to try and get as far up the field as possible, try and get inside that top 4 now, remember, top 4 go through, not top 5 like for the heat races. So the qualifying spots are a bit more of an exclusive club here in this one as well. So it just requires that little bit of extra effort for you to get yourself inside of those positions. But yeah, there's no telling what's going to happen here, especially on the race start. If there's a door open down into the hairpin, there's probably going to be 15 million cars trying to occupy the same space.
Prediction time then, Connery. Give us your prediction. Name one driver who's going to get let's just go for winner of the race.
Winner of the race? I'm not sure. I kind of like Barner's situation. He really gave me positive vibes basically in the heat race, but Rodriguez, you know, what a talented racer. You know, when it comes to actual overtakes, Rodriguez, you know, one of the best out there. So I would have to put my money on Rodriguez, though. I think Rodriguez might have the head to try and win this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go for experience in terms of how many esports competition finals they've been in. Manu Rodriguez. Again, I may have a little bit of man crush on Manu, but yeah, through talent, you know, this is not his strongest sim. RaceRoom is not his strongest sim, yet he still managed to get to this level. So if he does manage to get to the finals, oh, absolutely watch out for that driver. He will improve. He will put more time in and definitely be up and amongst it. And we can't go without saying fan favourite Bo Dixon. I'm not sure I saw that he would have quite the pace in terms of qualification pace that he's shown in race number 3. And I think that was probably the difference as to why he didn't get through in race number 1. Is because he didn't qualify anywhere near the top 5. The fact that he's in and amongst it, I know his racecraft is definitely one of the better in the grid. So expect to see him hold firm here from the German contingent behind him as Sascha Ziefler and indeed Leonard Carton. So for me, it's going to be between Manu Rodriguez and I think Bo Dixon will be holding on to a top 4. This is going to be great.
Here we go then. Drivers slowly but steadily getting themselves onto the starting grid for the final time in the shootouts here. The last chance qualifier in shootout number 2 is about to get itself underway here, Luke. Here we go.
Yep, 29 drivers or 30 drivers there are on the grid. We're about to go green light racing. It's final chance qualifying time. It is shootout day 2, final race. We've got 30 drivers on the grid. Top 4 from this will go through. It's not a good start from Rodriguez in P2, and he might be under pressure here for that P2 spot as we get a sweep potentially around the outside here from it's Negs, and Neg just not quite going to get it here. And now I think Dixon's already down to P5 here. So he needs to stay ahead, basically, of Ziefler. Down in towards then turn number 2. And you can see here that Ziefler's going to be hung out to dry. But it is very, very close. I'll tell you what, you've got to hand it to everybody, considering how clean it's been. Although we haven't had the hairpin yet, so I'm going to be quiet. But right now, Barner's got a worldie of a start. He's off into the distance here. Can Dixon get up to a top 4 in the slipstream underneath that rear wing? The long run down there as well. He's actually dragging along with him Pringer as well. And I'll tell you what, he's up to a top 4. And oh, he's going to tag there Neg as well. Neg's going to hold on to a top 4. Dixon's going to move up into top 4 himself. And look who's now joining them. Carton, who was always very, very good at indeed at getting right, close to the group ahead of him. He is right in and amongst it here as well. As we can see now, people are taking chances here, Connery. We said they're all going to leave it out on the table. That is absolutely happening right now. Springer is now in P4.
Yeah, absolutely crazy start here in the final shootout race as we get to see multiple drivers have an optimistic view of the track limits coming through the right-hand kink. And now Dixon's been forced wide. He's out into the gravel, out into the grass, and loses a good couple of positions now. He's involved in the thick of things with Vitvoet and Bluka now heading their way through the Sachs curve here on lap number 1. So Dixon was the one looking to try and make all the moves here early on in the event, but things have gone oh so wrong, but not as wrong as Bluka, as he almost gets himself into the pit lane. He spins in the wrong direction, and that is a tow back to the pit lane for the German. He's one of 2 retirements already.
Yeah, you got to feel for Dixon there. He got completely squeezed off circuit. That wasn't very nice at all by Ziefler, if we're honest. But you also saw what Dixon did in towards the hairpin. He also squeezed people on the exit of the hairpin, so you can understand that there might be a little bit of retaliation in that situation. And yeah, now Dixon's going to move down here, and now if he wants to get it back up into that top 4, he's got to overtake 4 different cars. We've got Luciano Whitbert then, who's had a lot of misfortune in this championship here. Can he get ahead of Carton? Down in towards the hairpin he will go. Late on the brakes he will go. And Carton is actually boxed. He got boxed in there by Prings, right? So yeah, it was Pringer, sorry, Ralph Pringer. So Pringer there, by being a little bit messy through the exit of the entrance into the hairpin, it forced Carton to be very slow on the entry as well. And that is just basically given the opportunity for Whitver to move up to P6, and actually Bo now closing in as well. So yeah, Ziefler making a small little error there, and ultimately it cost the drivers behind a couple of positions.
Yeah, exciting stuff here in, well, just outside of those qualification spots. Of course, they got to be careful not to scrap amongst each other too much, otherwise that P4 will start to roll into the distance. But still, as ever, 30 minutes of racing, 26 minutes and a half pretty much to go. And Carton, 7th place at the moment, still needs to improve in those couple of positions. Vitvoet looking down the inside of Ziefler though. Ziefler might have made a mistake through the final couple of corners there. He has to push out wide, he slots in still ahead, but Vitvoet's riding on his rear bumper all the way down in towards turn number 1. Not an overtaking opportunity through here. Your best bet is to stay in line and maybe make things happen into turn 2 as there's another wide moment from Ziefler. Ziefler's a little bit rattled, and now Vitvoet's got the line.
He has, down towards turn number 2 then. Late on the brakes here, also have the nose up ahead. Ziefler's going to get completely squeezed out as well. Carton then again boxed in. Bo's going to make the move. So Bo Dixon is going to get ahead here. Front 4 are getting away, by the way, with these all battling as crazily as they are. So right now, they're not really doing each other any good. As we can see here, oh wow, fair enough. Whitver then goes as wide as he possibly can. And ultimately, Ziefler nearly goes off the circuit. Indeed trying to follow for the tow. Dixon still trying to hold on to the position from Carton. They're now indeed being caught up by the group for 9th and 10th as well. And Carton then swings around the outside. The AMG just seems to have a bit of a power advantage in a straight line, but we know that near the end of this race, that car is going to struggle. And Carton makes a Hail Mary dive up the inside, and ultimately it's not going to work out. He then gets his nose chopped off, and I think he is definitely pushing this car to its limits. And of course, later on in this race, expect Carton to be dropping back here. There's ways of making an overtake, there's ways of leaving everything out there on the race circuit. We don't mean every part of your car.
Yeah, there's just a huge amount of congestion through the hairpin, and here's another move then as Bo Dixon on the outside of the Sachs curve just completely gets mugged by Grunwald, and now Stanger's involved in this as well, trying to go the long way around at the penultimate corner. Dixon give him the space, but that's Stanger out over the curb, unsettles the car a little bit, and now Rasmus Salo looking to try and get stuck in the Finnish driver well, outside of the top 10 at the moment, but at this point, everyone's just slowing each other up, allowing those front four qualifiers to get away.
Yeah, and that is the main objective, isn't it? Get to that top four. You know, it's all great putting on a show for us. You know, we can all be excited and look back on this and go, oh yeah, well done to you. You were brilliant. You know, you put on a massive show. You did loads of overtakes. When did you finish? P8? Oh, okay, it doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, you've not made it through to the next phase of the competition. So you've got to race a bit clever, but then if you're under so much pressure from behind, what else can you do? You've got to battle, right? You've just got to continuously battle. As Dixon then tries to make a move around the outside, and well, he gets a little bit of help there, doesn't he?
Oh, someone going.
Grunwald is going to hold on to P8, and Dixon on the cut is just spun it. Yeah, too much power, and you've got to feel sorry for Dixon here, really. Again, one of the fan favourites, of course, but it's just being used as a bit of a battering ram. Again, you can't take away what happened into the hairpin. He also was very aggressive himself through there, but like a lot of these overtakes weren't the fairest of moves, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was trying to make that make that car a little bit wider than it perhaps physically actually is in a lot of situations with the space that he decided to leave to some drivers. But yeah, either way, that's still unfortunate though for Dixon. Some drivers might call it karma, but either way, Dixon down into P23 now, so not going to be one of your qualifiers here today. Top four, Barner, Rodriguez, Pringer, and Neg. Those are the drivers that, if it finished as it is right now, those drivers will get themselves a slot in the DTM Esports season for 2022. Everyone else, well, they'll just have to watch the streams, I suppose.
Yeah, well, Whitfoot needs to close that 0.8 of a second gap down. He's got a bit of breathing room behind him as everything just chills out ever so slightly. But yeah, he really does need to close that gap down and just start putting some pressure on, because the two in front of him just aren't fighting, which is what you expect at this stage. Just guarantee yourself passage through. Barner and Rodriguez, 0.7 of a second apart. They've got such a buffer to P3 and P4 as well. They're not, you wouldn't imagine they're going to fight too crazily. And if Manu Rodriguez tries to make a move, you would imagine Barner's going to let him go if he's that much faster. So yeah, Whitfoot here has to produce some magic effectively. Again, 22 minutes, 30 seconds. It seems like a long time. You've got something to work with there, but ultimately, when every driver is pretty much the same pace as you, it's almost impossible to close that gap. So whilst you haven't got someone putting massive pressure on from behind, you've got to try and close that gap up and move forward. Remember, this is the last chance here, ladies and gentlemen. We've already got 27 drivers qualified for our grid for the DTM Esports 2022. This is the final 4 positions available. So Barner right now, Rodriguez are indeed going to guarantee themselves that opportunity. And then we've got Pringer in P3, and then we've got Neg in P4. Is that Pringer? Is it guaranteed Pringer in P3? I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, Ralph Pringer, he actually started P8, by the way, so he's made 5 positions up in this race to get into that position. Where did Neg start in this race? Well, he started P3, so he's actually dropped a position. And then we got Barner and Rodriguez, who indeed started in P1 and P2. So, yeah, Pringer has done a hell of a job here to get ahead of Whitfoot, Carton, Ziefler, and indeed Bo Dixon. I do want to just mention Bo. He's someone that has really improved his GT driving over the last sort of 6 months. He really is on a different planet in terms of GT racing recently. He's come from more of a touring car background to front-wheel drive, to then transition to rear-wheel drive is very, very difficult. But yeah, he's currently leading one of my series that I have on RaceRoom. Our GT4, it's like a DTM trophy mock-up. We call it the ACR trophy. It's made up of the GT4 cars in RaceRoom, and he's comfortably leading that right now. And on ACC, he's comfortably in the top 2 for our GT4 championship. So GT cars, he really has had a marked improvement, and to see him even running at the sharp end on RaceRoom with these drivers just shows the amount of improvement there is. So yeah, give him another 12 months, he's going to be right in the amongst it. But I am super impressed with just the depth in talent, really. Yeah. Like, what is it, 1.5 seconds we've seen as the biggest gap from first to last on the grid today. Incredible stuff from our 58 drivers.
And when you think that'll probably be closer when it comes to the main season, you know, that's how incredible these guys are there on the top of their game for the most part. You know, those drivers that have been able to qualify themselves so far, you know, they're going to be looking at this and just thinking, wow, I just need to find that edge somewhere, that extra tenth, or tenth or 2/10 of a second. That's going to mean all the difference between finishing P12 and finishing in the podium. You know, that's sometimes what the difference is on an average lap. So this is why these drivers have to take such a commitment to this. You know, they've got to treat it like a job in some instances. And I know some esports racers are, of course, now full-time employees of their teams and have contracts and such like that. So they are able to spend the maximum amount of time possible trying to practice for these events. But yeah, still, even if it is your job, it is a huge amount of commitment to be able to just go, you know, just to get that little bit more consistent, just get that little bit extra out in qualifying.
Yeah, well, you know, effectively, you're absolutely going for a job, right?
Yeah.
This is the winner of this competition gets himself a full season paid for in a DTM trophy. Like, that is a job. Oh, as we see a 3 wide here, Jan Stanger is going to, well, no, it's actually Alexander Grunwald who moves up to P8 as Stanger that loses out. And then we've got a nice little battle then for a complete top 10 here. Ooh. And I'm trying to think, is that Daniel Burker? Yeah, Burker's up from 14th. And oh, that was messy to say the very least here, isn't it? As Burker is the one that comes out on top there. He doesn't really get involved in either of the exchanges between those 3 drivers. Yeah, he's the one that gains the 2 spots.
There's a lot of stamp licking going on there from Stanger. Coming in towards 10, number 8, just completely outbroke himself on the inside and decided to use the car on the outside as a brake. That's what the situation was there. Thankfully, both of them kept themselves pointed in the right direction, and I don't even think either of them extended the track limits. But yeah, it's not a situation you want to see, and Stanger going a little bit wide, coming in towards that final turn will allow Alexander Grunwald to close within 0.2 of a second on their way across the line now, with 18 minutes left to go. A little bit further up the order, Vitvo still that 1 second behind Mihai Neg, and well, closing in as we speak here, but it's still, you know, over half the race to go, so still a positive light on the horizon there for Vitvo, potentially, if he's able to continue with these 0.1 of a second gains as we see yet more fighting through the first sector.
Yeah, very close. Let's watch these down towards the hairpin and then go straight on board with 5th and 6th and see them indeed definitely catching up here. For sure, 1.4 seconds now. The advantage was over 2 seconds last time we checked in on it, as Jan Stanger then is just about putting himself in a position to hold on to this P9, as we've got battling in behind as well. Serler in 14th position, holding on. Well, no, he's not. Dane gets up ahead. Herbilion as well, battling for position. This is Salo and Herbilion just up ahead, and then you've got battling behind us going frantically as well. It's battles all over this show, actually. And, well, that was, yeah, there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of stamp licking going on right now. And I used to do that for a job when I was 16 years old. I worked for a water bottling company where I used to bottle water for them. And then every month I used to do the invoices at the end of the month, and I used to lick the stamps. This is before they were clever enough to invent stamps that were just sticky. And, yeah, it wasn't fun. My tongue would be very dry. And I would imagine there's a lot of dry tongues in this race as well. A little fun fact for you there, Connery, I was a stamp licker as an actual profession. Crazy.
I learn something new about you every day. Let's just say that. Wow, yeah. Anyway, racing. Pontio trying to get past Grunfeld at the moment. Looked onto the rear bumper of that Mercedes coming through turn number 1. And, well, you know, how much credit do you give to these battles a little bit further down the field now? Now that the top 4 have gotten quite considerably ahead of the rest of this mid-pack. You know, what's the attitude that these drivers in the mid-pack are going to take from this point forwards now? It's, I mean, for me, it would just be, okay, just keep myself in the race, treat it as any other race, you know, and you know, you never know, the top 4 cars might all go off and have an altercation with the barrier, and all of a sudden you might be in a position that you'll be able to qualify.
I tell you what, I want to look at as much as this is close, look at the bubble position. Witwer is very much closing in on Neg here. So Witwer is in P5. He's now got a nice gap behind him to Carter. Carter's been overtaken here, actually, by Ziefler. Or Zeifler. It could be either or. I don't know. I apologize if I've got it wrong. but you might want to send an email to your family to let them know that how it should be pronounced and how I say it. Make it my life a bit easier for the next 6 weeks. But yeah, it's a case of Witwer is closing in on that front four because Zeifler has made a move here on Carton, which means now there's no real pressure behind the Dutchie, who's currently sat in P5. The gap is less than a second as well to P4. So this is close now. He is 100% closing in. And really, with Neg here battling with Pringer, there's every reason to suggest that he catches up to these, and you know that he's taken on that opportunity because he has to.
I start to get a bit worried for him a little bit later on in the race now, because we've had 2 heat races where Mercedes that have had to try and chase a position have had their rear tyres go off in the final 5 minutes of this race, and they're sliding about just completely uncontrolled as Neg gets a little bit of oversteer coming off the first sector. And now this is going to be a big run for Vitvo. Not going to be big enough to make a move into the hairpin, but a lot of lost time there by Neg.
Yeah, and well, it just really gives Witwer more of a, I don't know, more of a smile on his face, a bit of optimism as well. Because again, you know, the 2 people behind him battling so strongly means that he's just got no pressure from behind. So now he needs to isolate Neg, and if Neg loses the slipstream to Pringer as well, that's going to become a little bit easier, because Witwer there, you saw, he wasn't able to close in along that straight because, of course, Neg's got the slipstream of the car in front. But if he keeps making mistakes like that and gets into the web here of Witwer, it becomes increasingly more difficult to hold on. The front 2, they're looking really good here, aren't they? Barner and Rodriguez, they're all good as it stands. But right now, I think Pringer's okay, but Neg is struggling.
Yeah, I think that's one word for it. I don't know how much of it is him struggling with the car or struggling in the dirty air or trying to get past Pringer. There's not that much dirty air in these GT3 cars. There is a little bit of an effect though, but still, Vitvo, he's in prime position now, isn't he? With 13.5 minutes left to go. He's got 0.4 of a second between himself and a qualification spot into the 2022 DTM Esports season, and well, pushing wide through turn number 1, just trying to carry the speed all the way into turn 2. But now the situation changes a little bit here for Vitvo. How does he execute this move now, especially considering that Pringer is still involved in this train, still potentially might prefer to give a draft to one or two of these drivers, or one or the other of these drivers?
Yeah, and you're right, there's not too much of jet-washed air, as I like to call it, you know, in terms of being close behind a GT car. There's not a lot of aero with them. They've got that big rear wing, and really, you do get a little bit affected in terms of the braking zone, because you've got to brake a little bit earlier because you're going a bit faster in the slipstream, and also mid-corner, especially corners like this next one you're coming up to here, because it's fast. The faster they're going, the more jet-washed air there is, the more of an effect it has on the front of your car. So again, it's very difficult to keep the car tucked in. But then through the slower corners, it's not such a big of an effect, really. So you can get away with it. But like you said, it's just GT racing. It's not the biggest factor. And in all fairness, GT cars had a lot. There was a lot more pronounced slipstream maybe 10, 15 years ago than there is now. You don't get as much reaction to the slipstream as you used to as well. It's a bit harder for cars to follow as well because they're cleverer in terms of development. And I've been saying this for, you know, a good couple of years. The reason why we don't see as many overtakes now is because the cars are so well developed. They're so well developed to be in front of another car and not give the car behind a chance. It's as simple as that. You build a car to be good out in front, and you build a car to stop a car from behind you being able to attack you, right? You know, the more sophisticated we get in terms of aero, the less chance you're going to give people behind you. As there's a, that is Cernal's fault, to be fair. Just run out a little bit too wide there. It was on a power a bit too much. The contact on the outside was always going to come. They're always going to turn in for the corner, right? They're always going to be there. But ultimately, just needed to be a bit more careful. Here's the battle, though. Here it is. This is the final qualifying position. So it comes down to 2 drivers. And Connery, in this situation, Witwer has been waiting for, 10 minutes to get into this spot here? You don't blow it now, do you? You take your time. You pick apart Neg. You do not try and do it the first time of asking.
He's going to try around the outside regardless, and well, let's see who gets the better drive off the corner. Neg by a very, very small margin. He was able to slide himself across the nose pretty much of Vitvo coming out of the hairpin, but he's still under threat here. Still has to try and cover off any sort of move through turn 8, the big wide arc being taken by Vitvo through the corner. Gets himself a few extra kilometers an hour coming through the exit, but still can't do anything with it. He's got to be careful not to push the car too much either, due to the way that Mercedes is with its tyres as well. So Neg holds on for now, at least on this lap, but we've got about 10.5 minutes of this potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, you know, if you're Whitver, you've earned the right now to pick apart your opponent in front of you. You've caught up a 2.5 second advantage. So you know you're faster. You know you're faster. You've done it without slipstream. So now you're right underneath that rear wing. Let the car in front do the hard work in terms of the straight lines. You can afford to lose a couple of tenths through the technical parts of the circuit, because you will indeed have it made up for you through these parts of the circuit where you can just close up in the slipstream. Again, slipstreaming in RaceRoom isn't the biggest factor. It's not as huge as maybe games such as iRacing, for instance, where, well, you could probably catch up 3.5 miles along a straight. Is pretty strong there. But you've also got to factor in that there is 2 opportunities here, because you've got Pringer as well. Pringer struggling. The Audis, ironically, are starting to struggle near the end here, where it's normally be the AMGs. But you've got to just give yourself a chance. Each and every lap, be there to take advantage of a mistake, but don't force anything, because as soon as you force something, you lose a lot of time. You then got to build that, you know, you've got to close that gap back up that you've lost, and it becomes very, very difficult, because the tyres are going to get worse and worse and worse. As Neg nearly runs into the back of Pringer there, and almost doing the easy work, doing the work for him here in terms of Whitver. Those 2 drivers battling, if they do start battling, are going to make this very easy for Whitver. We've got Zeifler and indeed Carton still battling for position, and ultimately you want to be the next driver to take advantage if there's contact with the group in front, right? So don't lose yourself too much time here. Don't put yourself out of the race, because you're not really going to catch up to the group in front. But if they are going to have to battle, because Whitver has to finish ahead of one of them at least. So they are going to battle at some point, but make sure you're next in line to take advantage if there is contact.
Yeah, that's what this battle is all about here for P6, as Carton looks to the outside for the Sachs curve again. It's
oh, how does he save that?
It's an unorthodox move, isn't it? And it's yeah, great job to hold on to the car, but regardless of that fact, he's still within contention for this position as well. Hasn't lost too much time either. So multiple places to look at here. We've got the Pringer, Neg, and Vitvo battle. We've got the Zeifler Carton fight behind them as well. So we've got to have eyes all over the place here at the moment. I wish I had another RaceRoom PC to give you a double box.
Yeah, right. You know, you can see in the background, they're really battling hard in behind for what is P6, but this is the final qualifying position. As it stands, this AMG that we're on board with will not be going through to the DTM 2022 grid. 2 cars in front, 2 Audis are in P3 and P4. Top 4 will indeed qualify. Whitver, again, attacked a bit too much on the previous lap, which meant that he lost too much time to these 2 drivers in front, ultimately, because he wasn't able to get it done. So now it's all about being patient here, maybe hope for Neg to start potentially overtaking Pringer, because Neg right now can do with a bit of insurance, right?
Yeah.
He could do with getting 1 more position and then letting Whitver and Pringer fight for the final spot. So it's in Neg's, yeah, it has to be in his favour for him to get up to P3 here, just to give himself some insurance. But that's harder said than done, of course. You know, Pringer's stayed in P3 for what, 23 minutes so far.
Yeah.
He's not going to just throw it away and give it to you now. But yeah, Whitver again, he's getting a bit too close, and he's just trying to take too many chances. He needs to just size up the opportunity, stay close enough to figure out where they're slower than you.
You have to take that more cerebral attitude to it, haven't you? You can't treat this like a standard ranked race where you're just gonna, I'm just gonna try down here, let's see if it works. Let's try around the outside there. That's not how you approach these sorts of events. You've got to learn over the course of the race. You know, you got to even study specific drivers sometimes, and you can do that even still sat behind them. You can just see, okay, they're a little bit faster through this section. Oh, they tend to sometimes make a mistake through here, so maybe how can I set myself up so I can capitalize on that next time? You know, all these things go through a driver's head, and when you're on your top level like this, when you're one of these esports drivers, you're having to be doing that while also being fast and consistent with your lap times as well. It's an incredible skill.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you're right there. It's not just about, you know, what car is in front of you. Of course, you need to figure out where that car's stronger and where that car's slower. It doesn't matter whether they're, you know, what difference in terms of setup you have with each manufacturer. The cars still have the same strengths and weaknesses regardless of the setup. As I tell you what, Pringer is under a bit of pressure here from Neg. Again, Neg kind of, in this situation, is just hoping that he doesn't make too many big mistakes like that, cost himself too much time. Whitver, he's in a good spot here, but again, needs to be a little bit closer. But yeah, back to what we were talking about. Oh, I tell you what, Neg is trying to get that insurance here, but if you mess it up, you put yourself under so much pressure from Whitver. There's so many different factors going into this. I don't like what I'm seeing from the Romanian now. Like, again, go out there and get the insurance, but don't try and make a move around a corner that if it doesn't work, it's going to cost you so much time. Look how close the AMG is now behind him.
Pringer's done so well over the course of this race, and well, he dealt well with the pressure from Neg behind. In that instance, Pringer is a very, very big surprise, perhaps the surprise of this last chance qualifier, getting all those positions on the start and holding on to a third place. But now look at how close Vitvoet is, almost pushing the nose of that Mercedes into the back of the Audi, out of the final corner with coming up to about 5 minutes to go. Pringer's been able to get himself a little bit of breathing space here. I don't know how much that's worth, though. Look at how wide Vitvoet goes. That's certainly an off-track.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a slowdown penalty as well. Again, the dirty air isn't a huge factor, but it's a big enough factor in itself. But what I was going to say is, don't mess it up through turn number 1. Make sure you're really close on the exit at turn 2, which he is. And if he hasn't got a slowdown penalty here, he will be able to take full advantage. Again, it's a little bit more difficult because he has not isolated Neg on his own. Neg's still got Pringer's slipstream to work with down in towards the hairpin, and he's forced Neg to make a defensive move here, which means that Whitver should be quicker on the exit. But unfortunately, and there is such a thing, he's a little bit too close to the car in front there to really take full advantage. 4 minutes 20 seconds to go left in this race. It is very close between these three drivers. Rodriguez and Barna, they're very much golden. They're going to go through to our DTM Esports Grid 2022. But who's going to get the 2 spots out of these 3 drivers? Oh no, Whitver on the absolute limit of the car. That might be it there. We know that the AMG does tend to struggle in the latter stages of the race. And if you're Whitver right now, it's going to take a bit of a miracle to not only catch up to the group in front of you again, but to put enough pressure on to force a mistake and make an overtake.
He's going to have to struggle with the slightly overheated tyres now as a result of that big slide, that big oversteer moment. You do a good job to try and hook it back together to have an attempt here in the final couple of laps of this race. Neg as well. You got to say, like, all 3 of these drivers right now are on their top level. It seems like it is crazy stuff between all of these 3. Pringer, again, gaining all those positions on the start, holding on to P3 despite the immense pressure and the entire situation for the last qualification spot going on behind him. He's kept his cool for now. Neg has been in the thick of things, not only in this race, but of course the previous race while he was trying to chase down a final qualification spot this time. The shoe's on the other foot, though, for Mihai Neg. Instead of chasing for the qualification spot, he has to try and hold on to it now.
Yeah, but Pringer is still really helping Neg out here. Neg keeps getting that toe. It just means, again, Whitver cannot isolate the car in front. But fair play to Whitver. His final sector in that last lap was incredible. The fact that he's been able to catch up to the 2 in front, considering that big slide he had, is remarkable. So, I said he might need a miracle. It looks like there's a miracle in the offering here. The 2 Audis, again, very close between the 2 of them. Pringer is just hoping he's not attacked at this stage. He's just thinking, look, please, just stick behind me. I'll drag you along. We are good here. Is that Rodriguez? Rodriguez has lost a lot of time, hasn't he? He's now down, 2.6 seconds behind Barna. So, yeah, ultimately, quite a fall from grace, if you like, from Rodriguez. Still in the qualifying spot. And with, 2 laps to go here? Maybe 1 mistake away from potentially making this a 4-way battle.
Yep, here is Martin Barna heading his way across the line in just a couple of moments. So that will be 2 laps to go in this race. And look at how close they are behind as well. Vitvoet trying to follow as closely as possible out of the final corner to make sure that he's in prime position to slip his way either inside, outside. I don't even know where he's going to make it happen at this point to try and get past Mihai Neg. Of course, Neg, like you said, still maintaining the slipstream to the number 3 car ahead of him. Vitvoet, he needs something else here. He needs another option. He gets some drive through the first couple of corners. Really good run.
Out of tow he comes, and he's got a lovely overlap here, and instantly is on the inside. This could be the most important move of his year so far. And as we come then through this left-hand kink, of course, We've got Neg that's got the inside line, so again, should just about be able to ward off the overlap. Does Whitfoot go for it now? I think he has to. Late dive here onto the apex, grabs onto the apex nicely. Who can get the power down? I tell you what, it's the Romanian. Neg's got the power down beautifully well here. A little bit of door banging as we come up towards then the swinging right-hander, and Neg's back into the lead here. Does he leave the inside door open? He does not. Whitfoot has to go round the outside. Use the camera in the corner. Oh, it's almost a bit of contact, almost spun round. Whitfoot with move for the day for sure. On the brakes as we come through the right-hander. He's waited for his opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. We got 1.5 laps to go, and the Dutchie Whitfoot is in that 4th position.
He's been able to manage it. It's a bit of a touring car move, however, with the bits of contact coming through the middle sector, but it's happened regardless, of course. You know, stewards will be looking at all instants after this event, but for now, Whitfoot up into P4, the final qualification spot. Does Mihai Neg have anything on this final lap to work with as Whitfoot gets a little bit wide through that penultimate corner onto the start-finish straight now? Mihai Neg will now have the slipstream, and Whitfoot doesn't have the luxury of what Neg had before with the slipstream from Pringer. This is still on.
Absolutely, yeah. Neg now with one opportunity, and right now, don't blow it. Do not try and make it happen down towards turn number 2. Get a good exit out of 2 and make it happen down towards the hairpin. As we can see here, a bit of contact there, and he's just been a bit overzealous for my liking. I'll tell you what, I don't think he's close enough here. I think you'll find that Whitfoot has done exactly what he needs to do, but you know Whitfoot's going to have to go defensive here in towards the hairpin. And actually the Audi straight line speed is ridiculous. Here we go then. And again, with not having the luxury of the driver in front towing Whitfoot along, it could be a carbon copy of what we saw earlier on, but vice versa. On the power early again for Neg, and Neg's again side by side. Can he hold on to it this time? This is for the final qualification position for the DTM 2022 Championship grid. Neg holds the inside line. He's back up a position. Whitfoot late on the brakes here. And are they both going to stay within track limits? They are. Neg's just about got the inside line. He's not quite going to hold on to it here. I tell you what, that's harsh racing by both of them, but I think that's absolutely fair. I think that's on the fairer side. And I tell you what, Whitfoot is holding on to that P4. Is there any magic left from the Romanian? Barna is going to take the check of the flag here. He's going to book his ticket through. Rodriguez is going to book his ticket through to the 2022 DTM Esports grid. And I tell you what, it is also going to be for Pringer as well in P3, but it's come down to the final couple of laps. There's a mistake. There's a mistake there from P4. It's not quite going to be a big enough mistake to lose him a position, I don't think. Look at this drag race happening here. It is going to be the AMG that just about gets it. Whitfoot takes the checkered flag in P4. He is going to get through to the next stages of this competition. And while it might have been a bit of a slow burner for the first 2 races, but that 3rd race absolutely made up for it.
Oh my words. What are we seeing in those final couple of laps there? I was on my foot. I basically stood up with my hands on my head just thinking, what is going on? Oh my word. How Luciano Whitfoot has done that, I don't know. Of course, you know, it was a bit of leaning on each other, a bit of trading paint, a bit of bumper banging, but either way, Luciano Whitfoot, last driver qualified into the DTM Esports Championship for 2022. Martin Barna, Rodriguez, Pringer, those 3 drivers have also gotten themselves qualified in this situation as well. We just simply didn't have enough time to show them coming across the line because there was such drama for P4, but credit where credit's due. Barna was able to get away and gets himself a clear qualification in, but that battle for P4 was something else.
Yeah, it was sensational. Barna, Rodriguez, Pringer, and Whitfoot take your top 4 there, going to qualify through. And you mentioned there that it was a bit aggressive at the end. I think it's what we expected. I think it was going to happen. And I don't think it was beyond the limit of dirty or anything like that. I believe both drivers were going at it as hard as each other, ultimately. And yeah, they both stayed within the white lines and in the curbing. So I think it's a phenomenal drive from both of them. Maybe Neg's going to be disappointed. I think if the roles were reversed and it was Whitfoot that lost out by that margin, I think Whitfoot would be pretty angry about it. So, you know, it's the shoes on one foot, the shoes on the other foot. It's simple as that. But yeah, Barna done a sensational job there. Rodriguez also through, Pringer, and we believe Whitfoot. Again, stewards may inquire about it and maybe there's some penalties handed out, I guess, but for my money, it looks like they are the 4 that do indeed get through. Congratulations to every driver that has made it to this stage of the competition, because that can never be taken away from you. You've got into the sort of top 58 drivers with the DTM Esports. And, well, that's Shootout Day 1 and 2 done, Connery. We head now to the DTM Esports in a couple of weeks' time, where it's 6 rounds, 2 races each round, where there's a sprint race and indeed an hour-long endurance race. And here is your calendar. We've got Imola on the 24th of February. Then we're at the RaceRoom for the 10th of March. Then on the 24th of March, we're at the Lausitz-Ring. Then we head to Spa-Francorchamps on the 7th of April. And then it's the Red Bull Ring on the 21st of April. And then Portimao to end things on the 28th of April. What a show, Connery. What a grid we have for the 2022 DTM Esports Championship. How do you feel?
I think we were rewarded for our patience through the first 2 heat races there. That final event, that was all what esports racing is about. This is all what RaceRoom esports racing is about. Sim racing in general, doesn't matter where your sim allegiance lies. That racing right there is what we love to see, is what we love to commentate, that's for sure. It's what the drivers love to partake in as well. I think they, despite Mihai Neg not coming out on top in that battle, he'll probably look back on that and say, yeah, that was a pretty damn good fight. That was a pretty good fight between me and the other driver there. But yeah, that's what esports racing can do, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Sim racing to me is the simulation of racing, and we've just had a lot of simulation of racing, as simple as that. I've been Luke Crane. I've been joined by Connery Malik, and we will see you next time when we will have the proper grid for the DTM Esports 2022.